What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? So tonight, this is actually one of my favorite episodes that I've done this season because I'm a big fan of the lights, of the people at the company and whatnot. So tonight with Noah Miller, president of Black Dog LED and Alien Hydroponics North America, Joe DeFries, the logistics and consultation guru over there. He's the man that'll come and get your spot squared out for you, you know. So, guys, thank you for hanging out, man. You know, it's I'm stoked for this. You know, I'm a huge fan of the lights, the company, and stuff. So I thank you for taking the time to chill tonight, man. You know, so let me thank you.
Thanks for having us on. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm stoked, dude. You know, you guys have been in the game for a long time. You know, like I've said to on plenty of posts up till now. You know, it's like you see all these companies that are come and go, and you know, one of the staples in the industry since the LED really made its jump in and whatever that was, 09 maybe is right or something like that when LEDs really start coming around. You guys have literally been there, you know. I mean, in lockstep with the industry since, you know, so it's huge to have somebody on. It's really pretty much like one of the real only OGs in the LED game that's like around still. I mean, there's not many guys that have really can flip that bill, you know, with 16 years straight, you know. So
yeah, you know, we always call ourselves the grandfathers in the LED grow light space because we're one of the originals. We always say we were doing LED grow lights before they were cool, but nobody wanted to put them in a commercial facility, you know. So yeah. It's been a long ride.
Yeah, you know, after you would think it would happen eventually as the electricity went up. You know, it's just that alone is enough of a push, you know, to get people changing over. I don't know how some of these places with all that HID, you know, and all that stuff still. I don't know how they even cut profit with how narrow the margins are already. You know, like I would think it's a huge. I mean, granted. It's a big jump to come out of pocket for. But with the way the rebates and everything go in these states, you know, people should be doing it before the rebates evaporate. You know what I mean? Because it's not far from that happening, you know? So it's like, man, I don't know why people don't jump on this kind of stuff, bro. Like that right there is huge, you know?
Yeah, you know, your neighbor right there in New York is the first one. They're going to sunset all LED rebates at the end of this year. So you heard it here on Big Red's podcast that, yeah, you're exactly right there, 100%. And that they are going away. And New York is starting at that. They're going to run that lead at the end of this year. No more LED rebates.
And New York's prices, I mean, the electricity is just absolutely batshit crazy. The price, I'm sure where y'all are too. It doesn't matter where it is in this country. You know what I mean? But I'm seeing, no bullshit, I've probably seen an increase every 3 months for the last, I'd have to say, 18 months or so. It's been in New York City. I went from this time last year, my July was $273, I think it was, which is still a little pricey considering, you know. And this year, with the same everything I have hooked up still, everything's exactly the same. I'm paying almost fucking like $450 a month now. You know, so it's crazy. Yeah. And the crazy part is that out of that fucking 400 and something, 250 is sending fees. You know, all the whatever you want to call them, their little, you know, this bullshit, that bullshit, you know, all the magical stuff they come up with to charge you for. You know, the guy who's putting a fucking nail in the thing. You know, it's insane. But I don't. How bad is you guys out there now? I mean, how bad is your energy supply?
You know where our office is located, the city has its own. They were smart. They got out in front of the curve. They created their own utility for the city that the city owns. So it's kind of not for profit. So they don't have to jack it up and pay the executives sitting there at their desk, right? They're there as a service to the community. So it's cheaper here. If I go 10 miles that way, it goes up. It's not as bad as, you know, some of our customers. I feel real badly for the ones like in far-flung places. We got customers in Hawaii or Puerto Rico where they're paying dude like 35, 40 cents a kilowatt hour. I don't know how you're going to grow it. That is expensive power right there. So yeah,
it's absolutely insane the prices that are happening now, man. You know, with it. I mean, that's why I look at it like, you know, I've had comments. You know, I'll get into it later as we go through it. But you know, I've had people asking me why I've gone to bigger lights and whatnot. And I'm like, well, because I can push out better, you know what I mean? Like from what I was doing with this, I throw that in there, and I'm getting a lot better of a product out of it, and I'm getting double what I was getting with that other same light, even though it's the wattage is, not even, let's say double, but a third more, let's say, or maybe even a little bit more than that. But they don't understand like the mentality behind it. It's like a lot of those bigger lights, they were more efficient in my eyes too. Like I've seen, I've had bigger lights where I'm like, man, I'm running a fucking 1,000 watt versus a 500 watt, and the 500 watt was costing me more money for whatever reason. Like on the electrical bill, doesn't even make sense. Like
Are you talking about the old like HPS or metal halide or LEDs only there? Because that is true.
With the LEDs especially, but the with the halides, I only ran them for I don't know, probably 5 years, and I didn't pay the bill on those ones, so I don't know exactly how my money was coming on that one because I was in I was in a gated community, and it was like everything was part of a thing, you know what I mean? Like it was like a co-op, so everything was part of you were just charged your rate and then everything went into it, so I don't know how much they cost on it, but with the LEDs, I see a difference tremendously, I see
Yeah.
way better energy, with the bigger lights. It don't make sense in my brain, but, it's, to me, it's either the amperage or the true wattage or something. Like what is causing that? Like
So my guess is that if you stuck that light on a kilowatt, a simple device you can buy to check how many watts it's pulling. This is just my guess because I don't know exactly what light you're talking about. LED grow lights. Look, I'll be honest. We have a horrible name in the cannabis space. Everybody hates LED grow light companies because why? It's their own damn fault because most of the companies lie through their teeth about efficiency, about wattage, all that. So my curious guess is you might have gotten a 500-watt light that was growing really well, but it was really pulling 650 watts. But then you got 1,000 watt that was exactly 1,000 watts, and that's why it felt better to you. That's my guess is that their spec was wrong. Look, our job is to deal with lights, and the amount of lies out there are just insane.
wow.
So you're like, I got a 500-watt light. I'm like, they told you it was 500 watts. I don't know what it was, man, because I can show you. I can go buy a 1,000-watt light off Amazon. It'll be about 100 watts probably. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what they sell.
Like, well, we've had the conversation about, like with the UMOL and ratings and all that stuff. How they do instead of doing the 400 to 700, they do the 1,000 to 1,000 or whatever. So that first 300, that last 300 is just hogwash. It don't, but they add it to to the efficacy of the light or whatever you want to call it, the specs, and it's crazy. People, and the fucked up thing about it is that all you have to do is just a little computer work, and you can find all this shit out before you go and buy the light. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, So we get into that too, where we can get into that. So let's start off with first question going is how did Black Dog come about? Like what was the journey into it? Because I know there's always a backstory to how companies come about. I was a grower, I was using the light, it sucked, So
yeah.
What was the startup for that?
Yeah. So I will say I'm the president, but I'm not the founder. So there was a gentleman who started the company. He was an underground grower back in the day, of course. And he moved to Colorado from California and wanted to grow because at the time he couldn't really at that time yet. And Cali's easily rec. It was right after rec. And so he had the idea of, he knew what LEDs were, and he had the idea of like, hey, we could grow with these LEDs. And he got the company started in his house. And the Black Dog name, for those that want to know it, no, it's not Led Zeppelin. I wish it was. I'm a Zepp fan myself, so don't get me wrong. I love some Zepp. But he was trying to come up with a name for the company. And he had a really killer dog that was a Black Lab Pit Mix. Just such a great dog. And you can still surf our site, drill down and find. We have a couple pictures buried on our site of that dog. And he was trying to come up with a name, and somebody's like, hey, call it Black Dog. And it stuck. So that's how the name came about.
It's like Yellow Dog from that Chevy Chase movie. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like Funny Farm.
And a lot of people think it's your neck of the woods, Martha's Vineyard, right? You guys got that Black Dog bar up there, right? A lot of people think we're related to that bar up there.
By the way, when you put in black dog, if you don't put black dog LED, the amount of stuff that comes up before you'll ever get to that light is insane. You know. It really is. Like you said, Zeppelin pops, just everything but the light, and then you get to the light. You're like, all right, this is it. But it's funny if you don't put that, you're gonna get the laundry list.
For sure.
Black Dog is a popular name.
I see somebody commented there on the dog. Greatest dog I've ever known, pretty much, was that black lab pit. And somebody said they had a lab and a pit because it had the love and the heart of a lab, but it had the brains and stubbornness of a pit bull. It made for a great dog. You don't
realize how smart pit bulls are. Pit bulls are smart dogs, dude. Those dogs are smart dogs. That's one thing that's underrated. But you know what the problem is with those dogs? They get a bad rap because the owners are always, complete retards. Just absolute morons with their animals. I see people in my neighborhood that own them, and I've never seen more people train their dogs with ass whoopings than ever in my life. That's all it is. That's the only way that people around in Brooklyn, I know, and this in my neighborhood especially, when they got puppies, those dogs are already when they'll go to scratch their nose or their ass, those dogs are literally on their stomachs, fucking scared shitless, and that dog will be this big, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, and as they get older, you see it. Like I'll talk to some of the guys in the neighborhood, and they'll just be like, talking with their hands moving, and the dog is reacting to every hand movement, just constantly putting its head down, scared. And I'm like, I understand. Like pit bulls are so easy to train. Like I've had pits, I've had a couple pits. They're easy dogs to train. Like they're smart, man. Like there's no reason for a dog like that to ever be scared. It don't make sense. You have no patience, obviously. And but most people try to train dogs too early anyway. In my mind, they don't wait, and that you gotta get past that initial, weaning and that early bullshit. And then you can start training them. But if they're at the point where they're 8 weeks old and they're jumping on the floor scared. That dog was, since it was born, it's been trained wrong, or just walked, one or the other.
Yeah.
But So this
so that's how it got started, though. That's the start. And for those listening, about 15 years ago, and that's what makes us as old as you said. We're almost 15 years now.
Yeah, that's what what do you call it? The one thing about, like I said, the one thing about this industry is there's not many companies that can actually say that as far as LEDs, where they've been around since the beginning, you know what I mean, and still put out, or not still put out the same quality but better, you know what I mean, over the years, and that to me, like that's I don't understand it. When I see everybody, I understand in a way because I did the Facebook thing and stuff, but I look at it like this, like. There's always got to be a cheaper, version of something for somebody who can't afford stuff. But in the long run, to buy quality off the rip, even if it might cost more, you're going to get more out of it. You're going to get customer service that goes with it. You're going to get all those bonuses that go with it. So to me, buying a cheap crap light, it just doesn't make. The only reason to do it is economics. To me, there's as far as brain-wise, the only thing I can come up with is literally economics. It's the only reason people buy cheap lights, and it don't make sense because, especially if you grow in medicine.
Yeah, I think some of that also has to do with, though, to your point, is they're getting led down a bit of a primrose path. They're told one thing, and that's not necessarily what they're getting or seeing or whatever. So I guess what I'm saying there is it's like, totally agree with you, but I think if the manufacturer was honest about their light, maybe less people would purchase them as well.
Yeah,
just throwing that out.
And if more people, like we've spoken about too, if more people are educated as far as testing and whatnot, and what to look for. When you look at a light and you don't see any kind of markings on it that it's been tested. And I've spoken about this a couple of times throughout the weeks and that we've been doing this. But if you don't see that everything on that light's tested down to you shouldn't be buying it. If it's not on the drive of the fixture, the cord, like. You should not buy that light because, like we've spoken about, you're going to void your insurance. So that's another thing.
And I think that's a good thing to educate your audience about. Is you're talking about basically UL or ETL or some sort of an underwriter's laboratory, and people don't. The problem is people don't necessarily realize you should have those. You are 100% right, and for the right reasons because it'll void your insurance. All those reasons, certainly commercial. They don't. What the UL doesn't do is it doesn't tell you if the light's going to grow. They don't test anything to do with the grow. They
Yeah,
just
yeah,
make sure
yeah.
and say it's not going to kill you and it's not going to burn your house down. That's all they check.
That's
But
to
that's
me.
important.
That's to me. You know, like that, protecting my. You know, I'm in a building. You know, so I got other families in here to worry about. You know, when I grow too. But even my own family. Like I'm not going to buy something and have it at my house that if I'm out, you know, and there's nobody there monitoring it. You know what I mean? Like I know for a fact, you know, most people's wife and kids can give a shit about their grow room, you know. So if something goes down in there, it's gonna escalate before somebody probably really like is like, oh shit, it's probably the grow room, you know. But to even take those chances is bonkers to me, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, you know, it's another thing. Like you buy cheap, but you know, like besides the grow information, like we were saying, you know, besides uh, the true wattages and stuff like that. It's like that other shit, you know, that's the other stuff, you know, that you got to worry about, like, you know, with lights. That's why I say also, you know, buying better lights. You know, most of the good lights out there are certified. You know what I mean? Like, it's you know, it's a very specific kind of light that's usually going down that path. You know, coming from, you know, the west or whatever you want to call it, the far east, or you know, however we term it. But so I want to get into some grow stuff. So let's see. Hold on. So Joe, here's one for you. Like when you're consulting with like growers and whatnot, what's the most overlooked part of building out cultivation facilities that you see?
Power.
Yeah.
Power would be number one. That is
Really?
a lot of times. Yeah, I think people tend to underestimate how much power they need for sure. What do you think, Noah? What would you tack onto that?
I think you're right up there, Joe. Is, you know, how many guys have we been on consults with, and they're like, "Oh, I got plenty of power. I got more power than any building's ever had. I got 600 amps." We're like, "Oh, hope you're doing a small grow, buddy," because they think. And to be honest, they're talking like Joe's saying. It's all perspective, right? If you talk to a real estate agent, you're like, "I need a lot of power." They're like, "Oh, this was a machine shop. It's got so much power. You have no idea." I'm like, unless it was a grow or an aluminum smelting plant, it doesn't have enough power. I can pretty much guarantee it. So I think Joe's spot on with that is power. And it's not their fault. It's just that unless you've done a grow, you don't know what you're looking for, how much power.
Yeah.
So I think he's right on.
What would you like as far as what would be if somebody, you know, because I know we have some people that come into our audience a lot that are getting micro licenses and stuff like that. What would you tell somebody if, like, before they made the folly, what would you say? Like, if you're gonna, like, if you're gonna get, you know, if you're gonna get something, like, this is what you want to look at. Like, what would you tell a guy who's just maybe getting into a license or something that might see this? You know, that, like, what would be the minimum you would think would be where? Because you're saying everybody's underpowered. You know, like, what would you think should be at the minimum for people to get in?
It all comes down to the size of the grow, right? I mean, you know, we work jobs where I need 1,000 amps at least, and I'm talking 1,000 amps at, like, you know, 480. So
what are most micro licenses now? Most micro licenses, what, 2,500 plants?
Like one of the ones we're working on right now is 2,500 square feet, let's say. So that's a good bellwether.
Yeah.
They're a micro license, 2,500 square feet. To get that running, I'll tell you real quick. I can do some quick math for us.
I'm curious about that, you know, because, like I said, I know a couple guys. There's a guy from Rhode Island that's just got a couple micro licenses, and I've been talking to him too. So I like, you know, just to get people informed, you know, because, like, that would suck, bro. You know, which I couldn't even imagine. Like, imagine getting a place and then having to repower the whole fucking place like that. Oh my God, that's got to be money, you know.
And the wait times, you know, it can take a long time to get power.
Yeah, it's not easy to get an electrician these days. From what I've been hearing, bro, I've been seeing a lot of people having hard times getting electricians, plumbers too.
Yeah,
because we're not producing any anymore. You know, that's the problem. Everybody told all these kids to go to fucking school and learn computers and coding, and now we're gonna have a fucking huge gap and a bunch of kids that can't even hang pictures on walls. You know, like, I mean, this is what happens when you start listening to the government.
Yeah.
We got a whole generation of useless kids. You know, all they can do is click keyboards.
No, totally. I think to answer your question, 1,000 amps is a good starting point. Now, anyone that knows electricity and listening to me to be like, well, at what voltage are you talking? So I'm talking like at least 240 and 1,000 amps starts to get you in the game. I would say 1,000 amps, 480 better. But you generally, I've never, I don't know, Joe can call me on this, but I've never seen somebody with too much power in a building. You just don't use it all. You know, you don't want to pay to pull in a ton of power you're not going to use, but
Yeah.
it's always good to have the extra power because you're like, well, I got 250,000 watts in lights going in here. Okay. Well, you could double that for your HVAC because if you got 250,000 lights going in, you're probably going to have another 250,000 watts in HVAC. And then you can layer on your DHUs and layer on everything else, right? So it just adds up quickly. I'd say one thing, if you said, I'm talking to a person who's just starting their grow and you were asking about like, where do we see people stumble? The one place you were talking about this moment ago, people cheaping out. You want to know the place they cheap out the most other than lights? They do cheap out on lights a fair bit. But where I see a lot of them sell themselves short is DHU and HVAC.
Yeah,
And that is an education. That's an education thing. And it's because they'll work with an HVAC guy that doesn't know a grow room or somebody on DHUs. They'll be like, this is how much it can cool, or this is how much humidity or moisture it removes from the air. And I'm like, great. Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I have no problem with you looking at their spec sheets, but you have to understand that temperature changes how humidified DHUs work. If it's a cold room, it's going to be derated. If it's a 240 pint DHU, but it's in a cold room, that's going to pull out 120 pints, not 240. It'll cut it by half. So you should educate yourself. This is why Joe and I like consulting, is because even if we don't sell them gear, we're working on a big grow. We're going to say, hey, you're not buying your DHUs from us, but let us check it for you and let us make sure you're getting enough DHU. Why? Because I don't want them to put our lights in there and then have a crappy grow because they don't have enough DHU. And I know that if they follow the manufacturer's spec and they have that much water to pull out, they're going to be short because the DHUs don't work at 100% all the time. So nobody builds in overhead. Your background. If you need this much gas to get to your fishing grounds and back, do you bring just that much gas, or do you bring a little extra to make sure you make it home?
Always extra, bro. Always.
Oh, right, exactly.
I made that mistake once.
Dude, right. Then you're drifting home, right? So here's my point. They do the same thing with their DHU. They do their same thing with their DHU and their HVAC, and they're like, man, why am I having a hard time keeping my humidity or temps in check? I'm like, because you're running a razor's edge. You've got just enough. So there are places you should add a little cushion, and one of the ones we see them always come up short is HVAC and DHU because they trust the spec, and that's it.
I made sure, even though I'm not even running like a big room, but I always make sure that even whatever I'm running, I always have a bigger dehumidifier than I need to, bro. Always. Like I got an Anden 70 and I got a fucking 110 Activate too, you know. So like I got two of them just in case one don't cut the mustard, you know what I mean? But
you always want that redundancy for sure.
Yeah, and I wasn't cheaping out on them either, bro. Like people think like going and grabbing a Walmart dehumidifier is like the best idea. It's like, it might do the job, but is it doing the job? You know what I mean? Like when you need it to, like, and a lot of these other ones, they got like the Anden ones, they got those nice, the filtration on it and stuff. So whatever's coming out of those little puppies is, everything's filtered with those, like, like this, just so much better equipment that you can get into, and it's like it just makes everything that much easier, you know what I mean? Like to me, especially but having the redundancy, like you said, having that extra, but just having better equipment in general, it just makes everything so much easier. There's nothing worse than having just gear that just does not keep up, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first started growing was underpowering.
Yeah, that is
everything.
One. Yeah.
Everything. So here's a question. I guess either one of you can answer this one. So, what inspired you guys to bring alien hydroponics to North America, and how's the response been so far?
Joe, you want to jump or you want me? You want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. And we can both handle. I mean, so we came. I mean, we're out here doing our thing, doing our consulting, working with different people, building out grows all over, and we came across these guys for a build out in Michigan. And after doing some further research, we had a few Zoom calls with their owner, president. We really felt like they were in the game like we are on the LED side, but on the RDWC side. So, all high quality. Seemed like they had really solved a lot of the issues that you see with a lot of the, typical systems that are out there. And they were all designed and built out of the UK. So good, high quality components. and that was really, I think, the big driving force for
Yeah,
us.
I got a few buddies over in England that used them, and they were raving about it. You know, when I was still looking at everything and talking to you guys and whatnot, and I was talking to a couple of my buddies over there, and they couldn't say anything bad about them. You know, from what I'm seeing so far, you know, it's just like I'm about to kick it on. I was just about to try to plant the clones before I got on, but I didn't have enough time, so I'm gonna probably either do it after I get off now or in the morning. But I mean, it was easy as hell to put together, bro. Like that, you know, like at first, I'm gonna tell you, at first, like, because I'm an idiot, I wasn't getting it, and I'm like, I'm like, why isn't the fucking measurements, like, why is it? And I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, and I'm like, and just kicking myself in the head, and I'm like, fucking configure it. It's got the measurements right there. I'm like, and bro, I swear to Christ, I was irate. I was like, man, I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, you know, I understand this spacing and this and that, and I'm like, but where the fuck's bro? It drove me crazy for like an hour, and I'm like, and I got up and I got pissed, smoked a cigarette, and then I went back and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, fucking measurements are staring me right in the face, bro. It's I'll tell you, that configurated thing is dope, bro. Like anybody who's looking for a system and whatnot, definitely check out the Alien Hydro website, and you can literally throw in, you know, what's all the schematics you can throw in. You can throw the room size in, like there's a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, in the current version, you can only put one system on. Eventually, we want to add more. This is our own software. Basically, the problem we had, and we talked to you about this, is because we're so flexible in our design and that you can make them any shape, change the spacing everywhere you want. We have like 1,400 different configurations that are possible. But like nobody's going to look through 1,400 freaking products. So we're like, what we need to do is give you a way to drop it in a room and really quickly find the right one. So that's what we did. And yeah, you can put one system on there. You can put an area around it. So you could put a room in there, 5x5 room or 4x4 tent or 2x4 tent or whatever, and then drop your system on it. Once your system's there, as you found out, you can change the spacing between pots, between rows. And then you say, cool, that's what I want. Then you click a button, as you said, and it'll tell you where to cut every pipe based on what you laid out. So, it's really handy. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any? Are you able to show some of the systems tonight? Do you have?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Would you mind taking us through and showing some stuff, man?
Here's the only thing is on this one, I don't know if I could turn the camera around, but I'll try and do it through the front-facing camera.
That's fine. I'll holler and let you know if you're in frame. Don't worry.
All right, perfect.
If you look at the bottom down there, there's a little icon for your video. If you click that, it gives you the option of which camera you want to use.
Ooh, perfect. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Joe. Let's get that going.
I would have never figured that out.
Fuck yeah, there we go. There we go. Boom. There's the Joe with the tip. All right, we'll start. That's what we're going to start here with your system. This is what you're running. This is a bit bastardized in that we have the small pots in front and the big pots. You would generally have one size pot, but this is our display. So for those watching it for this system, you have to have a tank. Dave knows that. There's a tank, and then you need the system. That's it. This is pretty compact, the way it's put together. Normally, you'd space them apart a little further so you can get some good-sized plants. But this is our arrow system. And if we look in here, you can see in that basket, there's your sprinklers right there. And there's your bottom grid. Basically what happens is there's a pump in here, runs water down, out through the header pot here, which has a filter built into it to filter your water. Then it's going to run through these, which are adjustable. So if you want one side to run with more water or less, all banging. And then right there, this water goes here, splits off, and you sprinkle. Now, then you have a timer, and as you know, you just said it. A good rule of thumb, what we're finding is really good kind of for cannabis these days. Every 15 minutes, you run it for 15 seconds. That's all you got to do. We've found that filling the tank, for those of us that actually grow and you're thinking about, well, what do I have to do? The work is this. You empty this we're doing it twice a week, so every 3.5 days, put your newts back in it, and you're done. The rest of the time, you get to spend playing with your plants. Now, the timer does everything.
When you're starting off, we talked about this. You were doing right off the rip, like 650 ppm, right from the gate. You were saying, right?
Oh, you mean? Oh, you're talking about nutrients?
Yeah, I was just curious.
I
remember we had spoken about, just like going right for it or something like that, right?
Yes, so we're big because we're lighting guys more than anything. We've been doing that for 15 years. We're big believers that light feed charts should start to have light levels because I'm going to feed very differently depending on how much light I'm hitting the plant with. Now, I would argue Arrow is incredibly efficient at getting the nutrients onto the plants. So I'd argue you could run less, but you don't run Arrow. It's like being like, yeah, I got my Porsche and I'm going to drive it at 20 miles an hour. You don't do that. So you want to hit it hard, like you're saying, Dave. I didn't buy an Arrow system to go slow. The point of this system is it grows faster than anything. Deep water culture, rock wool, and it grows faster than all those. Now we can sit here and debate potency and debate flavor and all that, but I will tell you flat out, it outgrows everything. So to your point, yeah, I would hit them pretty hard, but it really depends on how much light you have, what type of genetics, and the nutrient lines. Some nutrients I found are more bioavailable. You don't have to put as much in. So I think it's all over the place depending on what you're doing, but I would not go easy on it because the whole point of the system is to grow very freaking fast.
Yeah, I've seen those fucking things grow. I can't wait, dude. I can't.
Oh.
I got. And the good thing is too is that I'm actually glad it took a little actually longer because I had taken like week 2 bloom cuts, so I had to wait. I had to get them to root first, and then I had to get them to re-veg, and they're starting to re-veg now too. So it's going to be perfect timing for this shit, bro. These things are going to explode in that shit. I watch. I cannot wait. I cannot wait, bro. They're going to go nuts.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you run. I'm excited to see you get this first run.
I am too, bro. I hope it goes smooth. It's been a long time since I did the hydros. So I'm worried, man. I'm actually nervous. I never get nervous. Usually it's like fucking clockwork. So I hope it still is.
That's RDWC. This is your RDWC system. Everybody that's familiar with recirculating deep water culture, that's what we got right here. Very simple system. It's like if you're familiar with current culture, same concept. You're going to have your header pot. You can hook up a top off line here, but that's just to top it off. You could do it by hand as well if you got a small system and you just want to dump water into it. And it flows out through here, down each pot, and then returns down the center right there back to the header pot, just like recirculating deep water culture. 24/7 running water and newts past. And of course, you hook up arrow stones or air line to it, but we use what's called an air ring. Everybody knows the biggest weakness of RDWC tends to be clogging air stones. We use an air ring that will self-unclog. So really good. You avoid, like Joe was saying, one of the reasons we liked Alien is they looked at the systems and said, okay, these are great, but what's wrong with them? What don't growers like? What's a problem for all of us growers? And they solved a bunch of those problems. And that's one of the big things they solved was the getting rid of the air stone, which is awesome. And they have nice big pipe. You got 50 ml pipe right down here, so nice and big. You're not going to clog it easily. The whole thing works really well. It's a really good RDWC system, and it is cheaper than the other leading systems on the market, less expensive, which is what we want to do is bring the value. So that's why we like the systems. They have lots of value.
We have somebody in the audience that could you do one of these in the 2x2? You'd be able to do a single, right? Yeah, right.
You could do a single. I can tell you this: you could definitely do a single. And for those people that are crazy enough to do single, we sell single pot systems in RDWC and Arrow. If you wanted to do it, we got a guy right now doing a YouTube series running a 2x4 tent. He's got 3 pots in a 2x4. So that's Arrow. He's got 3 Arrow pots in a 2x4.
It's all a matter of how much space you put in between each pot, dude. Like, you can max out. Like, I'm maxing out. I got it spread out more so I have a little bit bigger of a profile. So I'm doing it. I got the header backed off also, So I have more grow space for what I'm doing, So, but if you tighten it up, you can pump out some beast, Robbie. No bullshit, dude. Like, in a 2x2. Well, how many you can get in a 2x2? 2, 1, 2?
No, because I've grown. I love 2x2 tents to mess around in. You could only put 1 pot because these right here are over a foot wide, edge to edge. So you couldn't get 2 of them in there. But again, you could get.
You get 3 of them in there.
Well, right? In a 2x4, there's 3 plants. We've got that going right now on our channel. A guy's growing. Jay's growing with that. 3 Arrow pots. in
Oh,
a
yeah, I
2x4, and it's banging. It is a sweet little setup, man. I mean,
Bro, you'll pack
Yeah.
out a fucking tent like crazy with 3 of those in a 2x4, bro.
oh yeah,
You're gonna be doing some serious trimming. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make sure you keep that thing trained. But you can. Oh my god, what you can do in a 2x4 with 3 of those things. Whew, it'll probably. I want to see somebody run. I've seen it on the YouTube, but I want to see one of my buddies do it. Run some autos in them, because they got to grow monster autos. With
yeah.
Now, this is the thing that's the. Which one was the one we just looked at? That was the Vortex. Did we look at the Vortex?
Oh yeah, so that's the V system. That's the cool one if you want to grow. You want to talk about growing monsters? If you're in a plant in a state where you are plant count limited, there's no better system. For perspective, let's take a look here. This is giant. I can stand in that pot, okay? It is huge. It's an RDWC, recirculated deep water culture.
Huge.
It's on a bench right now, so we're showing how you could have it on a bench. I'll go ahead and move it for you. So you can see it's on a bench. And here's the thing. This right here, if you're old motorhead, you know what a Venturi is from a carburetor. It's how we used to get gas into our engines back when we had carburetors before fuel injection.
It's got a fucking gas injector.
So what we did here is we completely got rid. This whole system has no air pump, but it still gets air. Why? Because we run pressurized water through the Venturi, and it sucks air in here. So it doesn't have an air stone, and it injects air into the V system using a Venturi. So you have no air pumps putting heat into your system or breaking or clogging stones.
I think it's got fucking cool air intakes.
Yeah, it's pretty serious. That is the V system.
Insane, dude. That thing. Yeah, what's the biggest plant you've seen somebody pop out of one of those?
We got guys growing with this hit 2 pounds per plant all day long.
I was gonna say it's got to be pretty easy with something like that, man.
We consider an average haul from one of these from a good grower to be 1.5 pounds per pot.
Nice. Now, with the Arrow, what's the average on that? What, about 8 10 ounces, 8 to 12 ounces?
No, so I'll tell you where we're at right now is. We've had a few numbers come back. We're waiting for a big set from, there's a guy that we had that just cropped out a 72 pot Arrow system up in Maine, and I'm waiting for his numbers. He had another room that was 50% smaller, and he cropped out of that with 10 pounds. Okay. Now I'm giving a little preview. This will be on our podcast, but we're going to spill the beans on yours here. So he got 10 pounds out of his other room. Do you know what the air cube system is, Dave? It's a ebb and flow system.
Great. I know it. My buddy runs one.
So he had an air cube in both of his rooms. He took his big room, converted it to Arrow, and his reason was he was sick of cleaning hydrogen. So he's like, well, I don't have hydrogen. I've got a little basket. It's all open air roots. So he went to Arrow. He cropped out his small room, got 10 pounds out of that. So to match that yield with our room, he would have had to get 15 pounds, 50% more. Right now, he's thinking well over 30 pounds. So and he lost some plants in the room. I will tell you this, because we've grown with it. What I would say is this: if you're not going crazy and you're just a home grower and you're messing around, you would assume easily 0.5 pound per plant in your sleep with the small bucket. Okay. So I believe, you want my honest opinion, we've only grown it for a few cycles. So I'll be honest, I don't know the limits. I would tell you this: if I was running to grow with it, I'd say, cool, my baseline is 0.5 pound a pot, baseline. And if I want to get cooking, I think you could maybe get them up to 1 pound per pot on a pretty tight spacing.
Yeah.
But I would say 3/4, right, 12 ounces all day long without any stress in a commercial environment per pot. And I'm talking on a relatively small footprint because we don't put them far apart. So you're talking a 2 foot wide plant, not a monster. Not that stuff. Not that.
Got donkey dicks on it. You know?
Yeah, but they grow like crazy. And this is our last system right there. There's your easy feed. We've talked to you about that. That's for your Autopot guys.
Yeah, so this is the what Autopot should have done in my book.
Yeah.
I think autopots. I don't like them at all, bro. They clogged up on me. They were a fucking disaster. I javelined them out of my window into the fucking street. I was so angry with those things, bro.
Yeah.
Right out into the middle of the fucking Rockaway Parkway. I was like, I was so angry.
You and
Those
me
things
both.
suck. I hated them, bro. Hated them. I don't know why people like them. They're a nightmare.
Look, you and me both. I ran 10 years ago. I had a friend who was doing amended soil and autopots, and he was pushing them, and he knew our lights. He's like, hey, man, I really want you guys to run the system. Let me give it to you. And we had a nice R&D space. We're like, we'll throw it in there. We'll run it. Dude, I hated that thing. Didn't even crop out, really. It was garbage. You couldn't manage the nutrients. You couldn't flush, salt buildup. And all they had to do, this is the magic, is it's got a timer on it. So you can shut them off and get dry back. An autopot, all you're doing is creating root rot all the time.
And
so
you got to be there. If you got, or you got to be there to turn the fucking knobs on it. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's ridiculous, bro. The whole setup at autopot sucks, and the lines are too goddamn thin, dude. That's the other thing too. The lines are so thin on the autopots, bro. You know?
Yeah, they're probably using spaghetti line. Look at that stuff. They're probably using. I'll show you. This is probably what they're using. This is a 4 mil line for perspective. That's probably what they're using.
Yeah,
we're not using 4 mil line.
That's what they're using right there. Yep.
So
exactly.
we have that. And then the other thing is, if you got a heavy feeder, each pot has its own float valve. So you could set this one to have more water than the other one before it shuts itself off while it's during feeding. Then the timer shuts off and your plants dry back. You can crop steer in the system if you want to. And you could put any medium in there you want. You could put hydrogen, you could put soil, you could put cocoa. I mean, just like your autopod guys do. So it's a fun system, and I'll tell you the honest truth is the guys that love this system, they love this in the UK because it's still underground. When you talk about trap growers, why? Because you could set up 100 pots of this cheap, and I could do it all by myself in an afternoon. I could set up 100 pots and be gone.
Easy.
You just clip, put it together, no clamps, you're done. That's
the price point? What's the price point on a floor system? Let's say I don't know. What do they come in liters? So what would 5 gallons be? What is that? 20
Good
liters?
Lord, man. Now you're making it hard on me because I'd have to look, because it would depend also a little bit on if you want what size, because see, we have all the different sizes.
Yeah. Oh, well, the bases are different sizes too, huh?
What's that?
Is the base a standard size, or are all the bases different sizes?
Yeah, there's two. Okay, so what there is, that's a good question. So just to make it real clear, there's 2 sizes of bases, a large and a small, and then each base has 2 different size pots, a short and a tall. So we got 4 pots, 2 bases. And to answer your question, a 4-pot system like this retails for $247 right now. Full MSRP on that is $247.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It's everything.
You're paying double, if not more, on for the other things. You know what I mean? For the bags are breathable. I don't understand the plastic bucket thing with them either. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you? It's like telling somebody to go out and buy Homer buckets to grow in. You know, it makes no sense at all to me. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
they all
look
fun.
They all look great. You know, I don't see anything. You know, any of those systems that aren't just unbelievable. You know, every one of them is just tuned up. It's like you said. It's like starting at the buying a Prius to the Maserati. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane, dude. It really is. It's like you have every base covered. You know what I mean? Like, that's
for sure.
That's phenomenal. So, all right. So if you want to jump back on, so here somebody has a question. How do you see hydroponics evolving compared to like traditional soil cultivation going forward? You see hydroponics becoming more prevalent?
Yeah. So, okay, I'll give you a little background. Let me be clear. I'm a soil guy. That's what I learned to grow in. I grew in soil for over 10 years, soil only for over 10 years. And I'm talking peat moss, just to be real clear, peat moss based soil. The problem is peat moss. That is not a renewable resource. It takes a long time for peat moss to generate, and it's not renewable. So I think cocoa might stick around, but I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see peat moss get to be more expensive and harder to get. It's not super environmentally friendly, let's just say that. So cocoa, though, is a waste product, right? So I have no problem. Cocoa is kind of cool in that way. It's a waste product anyway from coconuts. So I have no problem with those. But if you're talking home grow, I think we'll see everything forever in home grow because you can do stuff small. When you start scaling stuff, I mean, we're working on a really big project. And if you told me to put soil in there, man, I would need dump trucks of soil, of dump trucks of cocoa showing up.
Yeah,
But
I can
guess
even
what? I
imagine.
can run a pipe of water in there, turn it on, and I can have all the stuff I need. So for scale and for long-term costs, I think hydro offers some really cool benefits that you're never going to find in cocoa or Rockwell or anything. Do I think they'll go away? Probably not. But Rockwell's energy intensive to make, man. It's very, I mean, I've got to melt rock into lava. Guess what? That takes a lot of freaking energy. So as energy gets more expensive, maybe that'll start to clip them out. What we really enjoyed is the fact that eventually we want to get to the point where when you flip your room, and then you redo it, nothing goes in the garbage. You should just be able to
Yeah.
reuse the parts and go to town and not have to throw stuff away or throw away soil or go buy soil or go buy cocoa. All I should need is water and newts in my system. That's where we'd like to get eventually.
That's one of the biggest reasons that I'm loving doing this because I hate, like I said, I'm you know, my space is, you know, I have to do what I can with what I got, you know, and it's like if no, not even if I have, but having to keep soil on hand for all the shit that I run, bro. You have to see how much fucking soil I use every year, you know, and I'm like, and I get it pallets at a time. So I got to keep pallets in a fucking room in my house. You know what I mean? Like in my apartment, not even my house. So I'm like, man, I couldn't be any happier to get rid of the soil, bro. It is a burden. It's been, man, it literally throwing a fucking pallet of soil in the corner. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not. It's fucking like 80 bags of soil, you know. It's like, you know, I got this, and it's, you know, and I'm on the second floor, so the people underneath me, if that floor goes, be crushed by a pallet of soil. Like, so I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I got rid of all that shit. I had like 2 tons of soil sitting on in the corner of my room, you know, like, you know. But so let's go back to lighting. So, what's some of the biggest misconceptions you think growers still have about LEDs?
Joe, that's you. You talk to them all day long. You talk to them all day long.
Yeah, I would say, you know, thinking that they're not going to be able to get the same quality that they've, you know, been able to get over the years running HPS. There's really just a lot of lack of education, I think, around the lighting and what we're able to do, you know, and it's about the spectrum, you know, and not just being able to say that, oh, I've got a full spectrum light, you know, an incandescent light bulb, that's full spectrum. It's the percentages of the parts of the spectrum that make the difference. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing is they think that they're not going to be able to get the same quality, and then even yields, you know, and that's again goes to the spectrum, you know, in the lighting that we're hitting with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely 100%. You know, 100%. That's
Dave, let me ask you a question. Let's ask
yeah.
you. Let's throw it to your viewers. Here's my curiosity. As a lighting guy, and don't get me wrong, I learned to grow before I got in lighting, but then I've been mostly in lighting for most of my about 16 years of growing. So, question: you're a grower. You just said this. I know you. I've talked to you enough already, Dave. Growers chase nutrients. They play and they're like trying to get that extra little bit more THC, a little bit of terps, that extra 5 ounces out of the grow, whatever. So guys tweak their environment. They play with their nutrients till the cows come home, man, like crazy. All this stuff, and then they'll play with their environment and really start now tweaking VPD and all that, right? How come? And this is an honest question. How come growers don't look at lights the same way and say a light's not a light? Like you don't just buy. You don't just go. I'm going to go buy some nutrients. You say I'm going to go buy Athena, advanced nutrients, whatever, current culture, whatever. You know what you're buying. But people say, I'm just going to go get a bar light. I'm like, well, dude, you hand selected your nutrient. You got your environment dialed in, but then you just throw a light above it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just can't understand why they spend so much time on all the other shit and then just throw a light over it when it's just as important as nutrients.
I'm going to be honest with you. It comes to people, influences that are full of shit, push more people into bad lights than anything else. You know what I mean? Like I'm like when I was with the Chinese lights, I would tell people, I'm like, you know, you're not buying a fucking Ferrari. I'm like, you know, you want an economical light? this is it. But know the pitfalls of having it. And once I started, just getting tired of it, I would tell people straight the fuck out. I'd be like, don't buy these lights. Stop buying them. Stop buying these fucking things. They're death traps. These, none of it's tested. It's slapped together in a fucking and then the funniest thing is when I see somebody go, oh man, I got this Metagrow. It's fucking great. And they're like, what light did you give up? Oh, I had the Sunlight Farming fucking 1,000 watt. It's the same fucking light. It's just painted differently. That's the other thing I can't stand is people who literally give up a light for the same fucking light, thinking it's a different light, or they just have no idea. And they're like, yeah, this light's great. It's like, well, do you know that light's this light, it's that light, and it's this light also?
Yeah, 90% is coming from the same block in Shenzhen, China. It's literally the same
the Guangdong. What do you call it? It's called the
Shenzhen.
Guangdong.
Shenzhen in the Guangdong district. Yeah,
I had
Shenzhen.
to address everything, bro.
So here's the thing. Joe would tell you that's Joe's favorite thing is he's like, do you know how many emails we get from China as Black Dog LED every day saying, buy our lights. I can show you, and people are amazed at how cheap. I'm like, dude, I'll show you how cheap they're coming out of China for this garbage.
Oh, yeah.
The people selling to you for $700 are making a killing because they're buying it for nothing.
Fucking $698.
And as manufacturers, we get emails all day saying like, oh, we make this light, we make that light from that manufacturer. Come, and we're like, sorry, man, we build our lights here in Colorado. I'm not going to go buy lights from you. So, but to your point, and it's Joe loves it, is he's like, the stuff we see, he wants to put it out there on the internet. He's like, if these growers saw the garbage these people sell for how cheap they sell it, it would be, it's just amazing. So yeah, totally.
It's absolutely nuts, the stuff. Bro, since I've been on LinkedIn, I've been getting hit up by so many Chinese light guys, bro. Because, you see the stuff I put on there about, fucking stop buying this shit, And ever since I did that, I get more emails and messages to my thing from Chinese lights companies telling me, oh, I got the best, you don't know, oh, come try this light. And I'm like, yeah. Tell somebody who gives a shit,
It's all just marketing stuff, too. I never hear any science.
That's the other thing, bro.
Any real
it's
data,
marketing.
real science out of them at all. They're just literally saying the same thing over and over that they've been saying.
They all drop off dramatically as fuck once you get out, a one bar past the middle, you know what I mean? Once you get out, they just go and tank. They don't last. They might, in the beginning, they might, give you a little bit of, a little push, but get 6 months down the road and start giving you measurements, and you'll see that son of a bitch going like someone base jumping, I mean, it's crazy. Listen, I know. And then the other thing that gets me too is the whole 40-to-1 spectrum. Let's get into spectrum. Let's get into the phytogenesis spectrum. So, me, I gripe about it all the time. The 40-to-1, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just a bastardization of this industry with lights. I think it's just been played out. Stretchy plants. People wonder why, when they flip their plants, they jump 4 feet. And it's like, man, it's this fucking spectrum, bro. It's like the Prius of spectrums, you know what I mean? That's the best way to put it. There's, you got levels of spectrum. That is the Prius of spectrums. It's just the bottom barrel you're gonna get in. You're not even gonna have a fucking CD player in the car. No AC, crank windows. So let's get into it. So what's? Can you tell? Give us a little lesson here, so people who don't know, who've never really heard of it, and aren't into the advanced spectrums and stuff. The major differences in it, efficacy, just roll with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the right guy for that's not on this call. So our chief science officer, Kevin, he will melt your brain, as we say, but I'll give you the basic version because I'm not the scientist. Let's go back to what you said, because I think you said something really important there, is because a lot of us on this call, and probably a lot of your listeners that are here listening to this, grew under HPS. I grew under single-ended HPS. Old enough to have done that. Joe has. You probably have. So HPS, let's talk about that real quick. No matter how much light you gave with HPS, not metal halide and veg, but HPS specifically for flower, you got stretchy plants. Why? Not because you're not a good grower, and not because you're not giving it enough light. All plants have what's called a shade avoidance response built into them. They're in a bunch amongst a bunch of plants and trees. If they see blue light, they know they see sky, and it's not because the sky is blue. We can go into science, but if they see mostly good blue light, a good blue to red ratio, they know they're good. If they see mostly red light, I don't care how much they're getting. Everyone says, "Oh, my plants aren't getting enough light; they stretch." Sort of, but there's also bullshit there because I give it a ton of HPS light, but it's red heavy. It will trigger the shade avoidance response, and that plant will stretch on you like crazy because it's trying to outgrow. It thinks it's trying to outgrow its
Something
neighbor.
in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's trying to get to blue skies, get good sun. So with HPS, and there's no way to change HPS, by the way, double-ended got more efficient, but it's the same damn spectrum, basically. And you've got a lot of red in it. But that's why we flowered with HPS and mostly grew with metal halide. There's a couple other reasons, but that's the main reason. So a lot of people, and you were talking about this early on, Dave, is everyone saw LEDs as energy savings. And I will not say that's not. That is totally true, and that's valid and important. As a plant guy that loves growing plants, I will tell you honestly that now that I understand the science of lighting, I'm more interested in LED because of the spectrum I can do with it.
Yeah.
Because I can pick my LEDs and I can build a plant spectrum. Our original motto for Black Dog was stop growing with street lights, grow with the plant light, because HPS is a street light. We do grow plants with it, but it's not designed for growing plants. It was designed to light up my freeways outside and ballparks, not grow plants. So
you can't
with
get
LEDs, no, but it will grow. Some industrious grower back in the day figured that out. God bless him, because otherwise we wouldn't be here, probably.
So will the fluorescence in your mom's cabinet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So to me, LEDs are cool because you can build a big spectrum, a cool spectrum. Now, all the other manufacturers are throwing a bunch of whites in there and a red. Why? Because whites are the cheapest, easiest to engineer. I could put them in there. I can throw a crappy housing on it, no cooling system, and they'll live. Then I throw in a couple reds to get flowering a little better, and I'm off to the races. That is, in my mind, that's like HPS, just a crappy spectrum that will grow plants. Okay, now what we instead did, so as I just said, most LED grow light companies, those bar lights, they might have 2 colors of white, maybe 1 red, so they got maybe 3 colors. We've got 8 colors in ours. Why? And we do have white. We're not afraid of white. We use it to fill in the middle of the band. But we are spiking red and blue at the right ratio, as Joe was talking about before, that it's all about the ratio. We hit that right. Now, we're not just hitting the plant with light. We're hitting it with the light it wants to use for photosynthesis. Can it photosynthesize with yellow and green, which is, by the way, what white light is yellow and green, that middle of the spectrum? Sure, it'll photosynthesize, but it has to work harder. It's just like you hear about nutrients. We all see all the ads for vitamins and supplements, and people talk about this one's more bioavailable. What that means is if I take it in theory, my body has to do less work to use the vitamin C or the vitamin D or whatever the hell's in there, okay? This is the same thing we're doing with our light. We're trying to give it the light that it wants so it can go about its business of growing us some killer sticky flower, right? Yeah. So that's what I want to do. So that is what our spectrum is designed to do. 2 things. Not heat up the plant by giving it the light it wants. If you hit it with a lot of green and yellow, it's going to heat up your plant so that it can use that for photosynthesis.
People don't realize that the first thing that thing is going to do is close up every stomata on the leaf.
It's going to do that.
It's fast as a motherfucker. It doesn't take any time. Yeah. And once that happens, let's just stop and wait, and just wait for the plant to get, So people don't realize this stuff, you know what I mean? Like for every action there's a reaction, you know what I mean? Like
and if you want to trip out on the stuff I'm talking about there, heating up the leaf, about 13, 14 years ago, we were the first guys ever to realize that you have to grow in warmer temps with LED than you did in HPS. We put the first research out. It was published 4 times. I mean, hell, it got published in High Times magazine like 10 years ago. So we were out there with that because we realized you had to run warmer temps than our old days of HPS because of the spectrum. The other thing our spectrum does, like I said, because we fixed the shade avoidance response, I don't know anybody growing indoors. We're all growing indoors. I don't know anybody growing indoors that wants a tall plant. Our spectrum will keep plants shorter and bushier. That's what it's designed to do. So there you go. That's my whole, I could talk for hours, but that's it. Yeah.
I want to actually, with it, because one of the things that, one of my peeves is under canopy lighting and stuff like that. How does canopy penetration differ with your lights versus other LEDs on the market?
It's funny. I saw I saw somebody put their comment up before that they were talking about penetration. And it's funny, growers, let me ask you before I answer your question. What do you think creates penetration for lights? Because you're like, hey, this light penetrates better than that one. I see it all the time. Growers saying, oh, this light penetrates. What does that mean to you as a grower? If I say, how do you decide, Dave, it penetrates better? You got bigger buds or you see light deeper in the canopy?
I see, I see one thing is I get good, better lowers. You know what I mean? Like my lowers don't suck. Like I always have eggs. You know what I mean? Like like I got a basket of eggs that down there all the time. That's one thing. 100%. I could say that.
Okay.
And I also don't have the other thing too. I know that I got good penetration is because I don't get a lot of die off on the bottom of like on the bottom. Like my lower leaves. Compared to with shittier, with like lights that don't bang down as good. And to me, I am a firm believer in not stripping down your plant as much as I see people do. You know what I mean? The more batteries, the better the result in my mind. So when I see, that I still have nice, healthy, virile lower leaves and stuff, going into my, I know that, my light, the penetration, it ain't coming from the fucking bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't wait. I can't wait till you grow with our light, man. I'm going to watch your grow like crazy. I can't wait to see what you think of that. It's just going to be fun.
I'm like a fucking kid in the candy store, bro. I was so pissed I couldn't get those things in before because I know I was like, man, I'm going to come back to the show and they're going to be bigger now.
Yeah. So let's talk about penetration. So I'm going to blow up your brain. This is you're going to be like,
whole thing,
oh my God.
I got into the whole thing, because like I've said too, is like, is that people always forget about, with the photons and stuff like that. They go through it stuff. So that whole under canopy thing just don't make no sense to me because you just, you know what I mean? Like it just none of that shit. I don't know, man. That whole thing just don't jive, bro. It just does. My brain don't wrap around it, man. So anyway, go back to what you're saying.
Yeah, just to be clear, what I'm seeing under canopy lighting is when they don't have good top lighting. That's just you're trying to fix. If you put the right lights in, you don't need under canopy. So
that's what I mean. That's exactly like what I was saying the other day. Like I was like, man, like if you just get good fucking lights, like why would you even bother? Like it's like buying a Prius and then going back buying a fucking Cadillac because the Prius isn't what doesn't drive as good. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make sense. Like like it's like. Why would you need to? Why would you? Why would you buy the caddy to begin with? It's. I don't know. It's just insanity to me. And the companies are pushing on it like it's fucking. Oh man, go ahead. I hate those things, bro. It's just they.
It's just a.
I hate
it's just a way to. It's just a way to separate growers from their money, but that's a different discussion. But so penetration. So here's the trip. Remember, and we'll just carry on. Remember, we were talking about we have a lot of blue in our spectrum. Most companies put no blue LEDs. They have white. They get some blue from the whites, and they have red. We have not only do we have blues, we have 3 different blues, and we have UV, and that's important. Let's talk about penetration. So penetration is funny. That's why I'd ask you because it has nothing. There's no scientific term for penetration. That's a grower term. It's like Joe talks about full spectrum is just a bullshit grower's term. It doesn't mean anything in science. There's no textbook definition of full spectrum. There's no scientific definition. So penetration, we're all agreeing, is getting light to the lower part of your canopy, whatever we want to call that. If you take a light, we've all been in the forest. I hope all of us have been in a forest at some point in our lives and looked up in the sky. And guess what? You're not standing in the dark, even though you see no blue sky. Why? Because light is filtering through the leaves above you. So we can all agree that light, photons, as you were saying, Dave, passes through leaves. We don't think of it that way, but they do. They go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I put a bright light on here and I have red coming through like we're kids and we used to shine a flashlight, that's photons passing through your hand. That's what it is. So here's where it gets interesting. If I send a lot of high energy light down from our light and it hits the first leaf in your canopy, if it's red, it's going to pass through. When it passes through, it has to shed some energy to get through that light. And it's going to shift to a lower energetic state. It's now infrared light, which is useless to your canopy. All it's going to do is heat up your leaves. So, but if I take a high energy photon from the other side of the spectrum, if we all remember Roy G. Biv, the rainbow, the UV and blue side is more energetic. As you go to red, it eventually stops being light and turns into a heat lamp at McDonald's. Okay, so if I start with the blue photon, or even better, a UV, very high energy photon, and it goes through a leaf, guess what? It comes out the other side as green or yellow or maybe red, but it's not infrared at this point. So it's still a usable photon. And if I start really far in UV, it might pass through 2 different leaves and therefore still be usable. So how do we get penetration? 2 ways. We don't do bar lights. We have very intense lights. You can tell people what you find. We tell people our joke is if you can look at your grow light, it's not a grow light. It's not. I'm like it's a reading. It's a reading light.
Tan under that thing, bro. Like,
Yeah.
no bullshit. Like
So
my pasty Irish ass is gonna come out of that room looking like a lobster.
so we have high intensity, and then it's really the spectrum again that penetrates because we have so much of our energies in blue. Nobody else does that. They're putting blues out. They get blues from their white because the dirty secret is whites are blue LEDs with a phosphor coating that then grabs that blue light and turns it into white. So they have blue in them automatically. So they get little blue. We have actual multiple different colors of blue to give you a really nice blue hump that will penetrate. I challenge anyone. I'm like, go ahead, grow with our light and find out that you will get usable flower 12, 18 inches down. And I mean usable, baggable flower, not larpy crap, full buds. Yeah. So the way penetration is, like everything else we do, it's science. It's not bullshit. It's all about the spectrum that drives that. Penetration is not scientific. But if we start looking at how light moves through a canopy, there is science to look at there, and there's plenty of good science to look at. So that's it.
Photon, photon doesn't just equal a photon. They're all different, different levels of energy. Yeah. That's what I think. That's one of the biggest things with Black Dog, with our lights, and how we get that deep penetration is because all the energy we put into the lower end of the spectrum there. Yeah.
As Joe was saying, I think he's right there. We call around the office, we call red photons. Those are cheap photons. They're low energy. They're very easy to produce with electricity. So it makes your light. Guess why they put red in there, Dave? It makes their light look better on paper because I look more efficient if I put more reds. So so here's the problem. My light might look really good on paper. You want to build the most efficient light in the world ever? Put a bunch of reds in an LED grow light, and that will be the most efficient light ever. It will kill your plants, but it will be the most efficient light ever. Our job is not to create the most efficient light on paper. Our job is to create the most efficient light at growing plants, which can be different than paper. So we always look less efficient than the guys that are red heavy, but we're not going to stretch your plants, and we'll penetrate better because we put the blues in there. So so that's the best way I could put it.
Well, Bob in the audience has a question. What are your thoughts on people that like with light movers and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on those?
All right, so let's talk about that. I think light movers are really cool, but here's the thing. You don't get anything for life and free, right, Dave? I know you know that. Nothing in life is free. I'm going to give up. If I get something, I'm giving something up somewhere. Social media, you're giving up yourself. You're the product for the company. Nothing's free. Okay, so if you start to look at that and you start to think about this stuff, when we start to think about what the light can or can't do, right? What I can really do with the light here is I can put in the right light and I can get a lot more out of it constantly by putting in the right stuff. It's like if I give you shitty food like McDonald's, let's say crappy McDonald's, or I give you really high in nutrition, you might get the same calories, but it's completely different. So
McDonald's, you can throw that shit in a bag and put in your closet for a year, come back, it'll look exactly the fucking same as it did a year before, bro. No bullshit. Like that ain't food. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's like buying a shitty light from China. You're buying McDonald's. It's something that just exists, but is it really fucking good for you? You know what I mean? Like that's the best way to put it. Like because it's literally McDonald's is probably one of the worst. Eating cardboard's probably better for you than eating that shit. You know, like for real. It's just that stuff. Oh my god, I don't even know how people eat that crap, bro.
So getting back to I want to answer your question about light movers. So light movers don't give you more light. They're incredibly useful for taking a what they call a single point source of light and spreading it out. So we used to work with Walala Robotics that did one of the original light movers in cannabis. Really great people out in Steamboat, Colorado. Great company, great people behind it. And they built a good light mover that worked properly because it allowed you to pause it on the sides, which is what you need to do. So if you had, let's say, a 2x4 tent and you had one bigger light in it, it'd be really good to move it in that space. It does work very well when you've got too much light in one package and you need to spread it out. But there's people that say, oh, you get more out of your light. No, you can get more coverage, but I promise you the same photons are coming out of that damn light. You're just spreading it out over a space.
Yeah, you're just covering more ground, I
Yeah.
mean, because in all honesty, by the time the thing, does its pass and whatnot, it's like the plant don't know. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a time gap in time that's going to be detrimental to it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, it's like if I look at it like this, like I hate the people that are with like the 24 hours of light for plants, like with autos and stuff like that. Because if the good Lord didn't want there to be dark time for plants, he wouldn't have created night. You know what I mean? The fucking sun would just always be up and everything would be growing like crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me,
Well,
24 hours of light just don't make sense, with like that. So with moving the lights, same thing. You know what I mean? In retrospect, because they're without for for a small amount, they're getting some, but not as much. So to me, they just it's if you don't have a lot of money to, let's say, light out your room, it's a good what do you call it? It's a good it's a good tool, for 100%. Like I know a couple of my buddies that one of them's actually watching who uses light movers, and it was basically because of more of for him an economical thing, but it was it turned out to be not as much of a downfall as he thought, because I was telling him, it's like, bro, I'm telling you it'll work, And at first, he just was reluctant. He's like, bro, I don't understand. Like, you keep the light over its top all the time. But I'm like, because the fucking thing don't need light just crashing on it all the time. If depending upon what you're growing, I'm like, if it's an auto, 24 hours shouldn't be happening in my mind to begin with. There's no place on the earth that does it. But with photos and stuff like that, it's great because you can cover. During veg, people think you need tons and tons and tons and tons of light during veg. You don't. You know what I mean? Like, you get away with it. Like, those things are genius, bro. Even in bloom, they're fine. But those light movers is one of the best things that came out. Especially for home growers. Like for people who might, like I said, economics come into play more for them. If you're growing out a big ass thing, throwing in a couple extra boxes and it's going to kill you. But for a home grower, $200 versus $600, $700, $800 for a light. You know what I mean? That's
well,
a big
and then
deal.
let's talk about that. One of your listeners just asked a minute ago. They're like, "Hey, what about smaller lights for home growers?" And that's the problem. I think, Dave, what you saw is the commercial lighting companies just want to make commercial lights because that's what they can sell tons, and they'll sell them to home growers, but they're not made for home growers. We
No.
started 15 years ago. No commercial guys were putting LEDs in. We made our bones on working with home growers, so we didn't ever want to go away from that. So yeah, we make one of the biggest lights in the world today, 1,500 watts. It's a beast. That thing crushes 5x5, 6x6 like crazy flour. But guess what? We make a little 125-watt light that's this big with the exact same spectrum
Yeah, the
the
exact same
commercial
shit,
guys
bro.
are getting. It's the
Yeah.
exact same parts, just in a smaller housing. So if you have those right-sized lights, you don't really need a mover. But I think you're right, Dave, is home growers needed to spread out this giant commercial light in their home grow. And
Yeah.
that's a really good use. That's a good use for it, for sure.
Let
But
me
we
tell you
make
that.
small lights.
Yeah, no. What spectrums you guys have? Let's go over that real quick. Since you were saying your smallest one is what, 120? You said.
Oh, so yeah, so it's real easy. The only weird one we have is our tiny, cute little 125-watt light. Awesome. Here's a great Joe. Joe loves it. You take that, stick it in a 2x2. You're not gonna like this, Dave. With an autoflower on like 20 hours, I'll still give him 4 hours of sleep, or
You go
22
sleep,
hours, whatever
man.
you want, and you'll get the DLI. You can run that 125-watt light. We want to try running autoflower. We think you could get a pound with that
Yeah,
125-watt light if you ran it
100%.
right.
I
I
That,
wouldn't
definitely
be
want to do
surprised,
that run
dude. You know
again.
what? Because it's like you said, it's about the spectrum. You're covering all your bases. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing. Like, people just, like I said, don't understand about those lights. It's like, like they'll grow, they'll do what they're made to do. They're made to grow and they're made to flower a plant. But that's about what they're
yeah,
made to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
that's it.
I know people. I don't know one person who grows with LED 40-to-1s that's not monkeying around with stuff. Where they're fucking around with their environments. They're pushing this. They're doing that. Blah, 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 blah. A lot of stressors that are creating the plant for them versus what the light's actually doing it. You know what I mean? So
totally.
you know,
Yeah.
so
Spot
like
on.
there's a lot of what do you call it with that too? You know, like I get pushback for stuff, you know, for certain things, but it's because I you know, it's just why not look at things the right way? It's, you know, like to me, and listen, opinions like assholes, you know, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And I think, you know, stating the right way, it just makes it that much easier. Like, it sucks having to go through all that crap and buying fucking equipment that, you know, you get it, you use it, and you're like, this sucks, and then you have to go and buy something. There's not, and I got a pile of that kind of shit from when I first started growing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the useless appliance thing that most people have in their house. There's a fucking somewhere in their house. There's a bunch of useless shit. You know, it's like, and that's what when you first come into growing. That's probably the biggest thing that you see is the addiction to buying bullshit. People buy more bullshit when they first start growing than they'll ever need in their lives, and then all of a sudden they're fucking buying everything over again. You know, that's the one thing I would say, man, is stop buying the garbage and start buying something. You know, you might spend more, but like I said, you know, if you buy you go out and buy a $70,000 truck versus buying, you know, a $5,000 hunk of shit, you're going to get what you pay for. You know, you're going to be able to mow stuff down, drive over shit, you know, get into the backwoods with it. You know, you buy a Fiat, you know, you're going to be stuck on the side of the road. You know, it's like, it makes no sense to me to buy. When I first started growing, I wish I had somebody to wrangle me in, you know, because like I said, I'm sure you guys went through it too, you know, the amount of bullshit nutrients you bought, you know, all sorts of stuff, you know. It's like, but with lighting is one of those things, man. They always say the two most important things when you growing is the light and the genetics, you know. And it's like they say that for a reason, you know. It's not to say it. It's, you know, it's not to perpetuate a lie. It's because it's the truth. Like, there's two fucking things. Get it right, your lights and your genetics. If you can get that down right, you got a fucking real solid foundation, you know. And to me, it makes no sense to buy garbage lights. Yeah, I never understood it, you know. And then you get,
Life's too
and then
short.
they wonder, and then they wonder why their bud sucks. You know? It's like your bud sucks because you grew it under a fucking $11 light. You know.
Yeah.
But,
So our light sizes are 125 watts. That's your small one. That's the only odd one. After that, it's real easy. We go to 250 watts, and then we jump 250 all the way to 1500. So we have 250, 500, 750, 1000, 1250. And 1500, all of those lights. We have 7 different sizes from 125 up to 1500 watts for the big dog.
I got a question from somebody. They want to know what's Black Dog's stance on sustainability? Are your lights designed with any recyclables, long life cycles in mind, et cetera, et cetera?
Better than anybody else out there, and we're the only lighting company I know that will take a light back from a customer, give him a discount to upgrade so we can get the light back and recycle it. You know how our lights are recyclable? Because they're made out of steel, not plastic. Because our lights are made out of steel, not plastic. So our lights, other than the circuit boards in it, are totally recyclable because there's very little plastic in our lights. It's aluminum and steel and then some circuit boards. Most of our light, by weight, 98% of our lights recyclable. By volume, probably 95%. And we take back lights all the time, and then we break them down and send them recycling when they're old. We're around 15 years. A lot of companies haven't lived as long as their 5-year warranty. We've been through a long 15 years. We know, and we love it when our customers are like, I love your light. I want to upgrade. We're like, cool. We'll give you a little money. Send that light in, and we'll give you credit towards another light so we can dispose of it properly and recycle it because it's mostly recyclable because it's not made out of freaking plastic, man. It's not garbage.
Bro, I see more plastic out in the water, bro. It's insane, dude. The shit that and especially inside of fish too, bro. Like now, it's been getting worse over the years, but I see more microplastics in the fucking stomach of fish than you can ever imagine. Especially like I see a lot of dead turtles lately, and their stomachs are filled with fucking plastic because they think it's little what the fuck are they called, jellyfishes. What they eat, so they eat the plastic. And especially Saran wrap, bro. Saran wrap and shit like that. I see like those instant microwave hamburgers and shit like that. That kind of stuff. Wrappers like that, but especially plastic wrap, and especially the colored plastic wraps too. They love that shit. The pinks and purples and stuff. but you see more and more of that crap inside of fish than you ever did, ever. And people don't realize it. It's like, those plastics, the fish are, it leaches into their system. So besides, fish that are high in mercury and stuff like that, you've got all sorts of just chemicals from the what do you call it? From the making of the plastics, or the making of the breaking down of the fuel and stuff like that to make it and shit like that. So you're seeing more of that stuff leaching into to fish, over the years and whatnot. It's insane, bro. I'm there's only very few fish I'll eat now, because of it. But it's insane the shit that it's going on, man. I don't know. I don't know how they can, if they don't do something soon about the ocean, man, it's gonna be a big problem, bro. It's getting so bad, it's bad. Let's just put it that way. Like the shit that you see now is I never seen it before. As far as like if you look, I don't think most people look, but when you look, you see it, and you're like, man, that's fucked up. Like especially like the plastics, like the amount of plastic in fish is crazy.
Yeah, and you're not even in the worst of it, right? You're not in the Pacific Garden patch. Like you're not even in the bad stuff. It gets worse.
Nope, but it's pelagic. Like a lot of the stuff we do is pelagic, but it's also just the amount of shit that's been thrown overboard fucking for years. It's like there's so much crap down there, and it's just, I mean, it's nuts. Like I don't know what I don't know how people can do it, bro. I see guys, like when you get out to a certain distance, you're allowed to throw different shit overboard. You know what I mean? Like, and whatnot. And one of them's actually is that I see the most of out there is styrofoam. There is so much styrofoam that people throw overboard. It is insane. I don't throw it overboard. I'm not sure. I don't even think you were supposed to. But there's certain things that float that you're allowed to throw, and from what I've gathered, is one of them is styrofoam, because I see it so much. But it's insane. Like there's certain things that as long as it floats, you can still throw it. Like it's ridiculous some of the shit you see out there, like the laws and stuff. Makes you absolutely bonkers. I don't know. They're going to just destroy. It that much with how much plastic you see and stuff like that floating. People don't realize it's reflective. Like all that shit. Even, and it's just from that alone, like that Pacific garbage patch, the reflection, the amount of extra heat that's building because of that shit, like a giant reverse magnifying lens, like just having a lens bouncing. The heat that comes off that shit is insane. So if it gets bigger, or too much bigger, it gets to a certain size, eventually, it's literally gonna start making a major impact, because people don't realize how much how reflective certain materials are, man. And it's just like, if you think about it, if you have something the size of let's say the United States floating around out there, but it's just like a mirror. Imagine how much energy is just bouncing back up in the atmosphere off of something like that, bro. That's crazy to me. Like, and they don't do nothing about it. There's like, unless you're like a private organization trying to do something, fucking governments have literally nobody has banded together to start moving that shit. Like, it's just, like they'll give, what are they called? Grants to certain companies and stuff to like come up with some way to do it. But they've been doing that, throwing money at that bullshit for years and years and years. And there's a kid who figured out how to do it, but they just never funded it. They funded to figure out how to do it, but once he figured out how to do it, the funding dried up. It's like, man, but it makes no sense not to clean up that kind of shit, bro. But people don't realize is with these kind of lights and stuff like that, non-recyclable materials and stuff, blah blah blah. That's where it's probably going to end up. Like if companies aren't taking it back in, disposing of it properly, where it's getting reused and stuff like that, what's going to happen? I mean, imagine when all of the United States legalizes and more lights are being used just from the United States. You got all these other countries start. So all these lights, that's just another thing that's just going to start building up. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. It's just, imagine how many of the lights and stuff like that will eventually build up, because of everything opening up. So to have a company that's doing something that's sustainable with them is, to me, is phenomenal. And you give it credit too. Like nobody's doing that. That's huge, dude. So let me see. I'm gonna open up my questions. I'm gonna close them like an idiot. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. I'm sorry. I closed it on accident. I'm trying to find it. I always keep my questions because I'm the worst, bro. You know how I am. I'll just start talking and go on, or in the middle of the whole conversation will go nowhere. Where the hell's my question? Oh yeah, hold on. Sorry, I had to sign back.
Yeah, no, I wanted to throw something out around autoflowers. You were talking about autoflowers. I really like autoflowers for home growers just because it gives you an opportunity by being able to run for 20 hours or 24 hours. You're really able to kind of double up your light for free, you know. By doing that, you can get a lot more yield. You know, it's not about how much light your plant's getting during one moment of time, but how much it gets over a 24-hour period. So by doing that, you can turn a 125-watt light into a 250-watt light in a way, you know. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Joe,
You're an
autoflowers. I think there's a good place for those, you know, and I think
well, to his point, would I run them commercially? No, but I think Joe's right because it is, you know, if you get 20 hours versus 12, you have a lot more time to get that light on there. And he's right, you can stretch more out of the light. You're not getting any free energy or anything, but to Joe's point, you could buy a smaller light, run it that way, and get a lot more out of it if that's what you want to do. For sure, he's right about that for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. Let's see. All right, here's one for you. With the different with the phytogenesis spectrum and whatnot, as far as like secondary, like you know, like deep terpenes and stuff like that. Like, what's the driving force behind that kind of stuff to, like, you know, pack on trichomes, you know, get those extra secondary metabolites popping, you know what I mean? Like, how does it go about with this kind of a light, you know? This is questions that I know that people will wind up asking, you know, as more people start to, I think, gravitate towards these kind of lights, because I think this is really where the industry is fucking up, you know, with so many of just these generic lights. I see more companies starting to come out with what they call, you know, their S5 spectrums and, you know, and this and that, you know what I mean? But it all goes back to this kind of, you know, all goes back to this, you know. So, what's you know, I forgot the question. So we'll
call it active compounds, right? Because that's what we just call. We're like THC, CBD, terpenes, anything active that we're looking to get out of the plant. Let's just throw it all under active compounds. So let me back up and say one thing first that you're not going to hear most lighting guys say. I'm like, the light's not the most important. I wish it was. I wish I could say, oh, light's all that matters. It's not. That would be a lie. The most important thing, genetics, period. And someone's gonna be like, oh, you're wrong. Genetics don't matter that much. I'm like, okay, you could take the best grower in the world, give him a shitty genetic, give me a good genetic, and I'm not the best grower in the world, and I'll beat them every day of the week. Why? Because if I start with a better genetic, I'm gonna win every time. So first off is good genetics, good sourcing, good pheno hunting, whatever you're doing, that's incredibly important. Now, once you have genetics, just like a kid, it's born a certain way. Like you got what you got. Now we can play with it. Okay, so once I picked my genetics, how do I get that out? I think it's a number of things. And I'd love to sit here again and say it's lights. It's not. It's lights, it's nutrients, and it's temperature. I would say it's a little bit less on some of the other things we might worry about. But the reason I say those things is this. Our spectrum, we have UV in our spectrum. We're one of the only guys out there putting UV in. And we're not talking bullshit. Oh, we have UV. We have the same amount of UVA, you would find at the equator, at sea level, at noon on a sunny day. That's what we're giving. What they would find in nature, not just a little dose. We're giving UV. Okay.
UV bars. Those UV bars, those things are the biggest friggin' scam on Earth, bro. Let me tell you, man, when those things came out, I was like, dude, I see people buying them like they're scams. Stop buying them like they're bullshit. You know, I'm like, what do you think that thing's going to do for you? And people swear. They're like, oh, man, my bud's so much better. You know, and I'm like,
that's the right idea.
Crazy.
I'm
like, you just used better genetics. I'm like, you just used better genetics. That's all it was. I'm like, that fucking
So-
light didn't do anything.
So plants, when I stick you in the sun, even your Irish coloring, you'll get a little tan, right? We all get tan when we get
Yeah.
exposed to UV. The plant, and that's our protective mechanism to protect ourselves, our skin, our genetics, our DNA. So a plant, a plant's response to UV, they don't like UV either. UV breaks down your cells, and it's very bad for you. It's certain kinds, especially UVB, which we don't have in our light. To be clear, the stuff that's in tanning beds that does cause a lot of cancer. We use UVA,
It's terrible
which is
for you.
different. But basically, the plant's response to UV is going to be to put out its own sunscreen. You know what that is? Trichomes.
The good
Well,
stuff.
if I push out more trichomes, I'm going to have more active compounds because that's where my active compounds go, into those trichomes. It'll
Defense.
also add color. We all like color on our flower. Guess what? The color is a protective mechanism called anthocyanins. It's what makes blueberries blue. It's what gives beets their color, all the colors we want. And when your plants push it out, it's also protective. Guess what helps them make it push it out? Our lights, the UV. We get tons of growers that are like, man, I've been growing this genetic and it's screwing up my plants. They're all colored. I'm like, no, if you took that same plant and stuck it outside instead of under your HPS lights all day and gave it a true full spectrum with UV, that's how your plants would have looked. Your plants will look like under our lights, like they would under full sunlight. So what we're trying to do is create that reaction where they're strengthening, thickening their cell walls and putting out trichomes to protect themselves against the UV. It's a natural response we're trying to elicit. That's number one. Number two is we would tell you, I've been growing for a long time. A lot of growers have it right. You should maybe, if you're crushing hard light throughout flower to bring the weight, that last week I would turn it down. Give the plants a chance to senesce. Let them die like they would in nature. In nature, they evolved under fall sun. That's why we flower. We're going through the summer and then fall. They would die. Okay, there's less sun. The days are getting shorter. So I'm going to give them a little less sun, give them a little shorter days. I would also argue if I really want to bring that color out or bring out the terps or bring out the THC or any of the metabolites I want, I'm going to also turn down the temperatures a little bit. Why? All of that stuff, you walk into your grow room and it smells, you should be kind of pissed because you're smelling the terpenes you want on the plant. So we're burning off terpenes when we walk in a room full of smell. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. As a grower, I love walking in a stinky room, but I'm like, I kind of wish that was still on the plant though, where I'm going to smoke it later. So by turning down the temperature, I'm not evaporating. We've all heard of volatile organic compounds, VOCs. That's what these things are. So if I heat them up, they're volatile, meaning they evaporate. Okay. So they're going to evaporate more off the plant. So I would argue at the end of flower, I don't care. This is just good growth shit, not just our lights. Our lights will, I believe, when we've done enough testing, they will turn out higher quality flower. But any light you do, I would argue you should turn down your temps a little bit, and you should bring down your lighting levels. Not my lights, not Black Dog, just in general, if I want to eke out that good smell. That's just my opinion as a grower. I don't know about science. That's what I've seen, and that's what science would tell us.
I don't understand people blasting the fuck out of the lights till the end, bro. It makes no sense at all, man. You know what I mean? Like there's it at a certain point, the plants, it's on the path that it's on. You know what I mean? Like and beating the shit out of it at the end ain't gonna do nothing except for just cook it. I never understood people who beat on the plants till the very very end. I mean, I could see I depending upon the plant, that every now and what I'll do is I'll drop them. But what I'll do is say the 12 hours they're off or 14. Usually towards the end I'm more like 14 off. But I'll run them 45% or something, and then I'll pump them up for 2 or 3 hours. I'll drive them up to 70, 75%, and then drop them back down. You know what I mean? So how those fall days will get where you'll get that little peak in mid to late afternoon. I'll do shit like that. You know what I mean? And get a nice response out of the plant. That's about the most of it. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of just beating on it. Once it gets into that, let's call it that realistic week 9, 10, you know what I mean? Into that kind of 8, 9-ish, depending, but around there, in that time. A lot of plants take more 10 weeks these days, it seems, that first 2 weeks of bloom really just, a lot of more and more stuff I've seen, just, I don't know if it's just lazy breeding, but I've seen a lot of plants where they just don't really get rolling. It doesn't matter, certain lights, I think that help and stuff, but for some reason I've noticed I don't know. I've also been. I don't know. I don't know, man. For some reason, I just don't like the way breeding's going. You know, like a lot of breeders. It's in my head right now. You know, just like going back, and it's bothering me because there's a lot of like wasted fucking time in bloom. I notice with like a lot of stuff. You know that I've been running. You know, and I hate it. Like you know, I hate that wasted time, bro, in bloom because it's like it just seems the plant doesn't get rolling right off the rip, bro. And I don't know if that's just more if the genetics or if it's more of the light. You know, I don't know because for strange reason, I used to think that I used to see the plants roll faster. You know, I don't know.
So, Dave, keep that in mind when you do your run with our lights, because I'll be curious what you think. Because I would agree with you, and I think what we're seeing is so that the rules around rebates and LED lighting to get those to change those rebates is you have to be certain efficiency, and the only way to get there is a red heavy spectrum. And I think a lot of guys are growing with lights that are too red these days, a very imbalanced spectrum. And I think it could be slowing down or delaying the onset of flowering, like you're saying. But that's
Yeah.
just a suspicion from what I'm hearing. I'm curious, when you run our lights, you pay attention to your ripening time,
Oh
and I
yeah, of
think you're going to
course.
see a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Because you know, like and you know, and it's I don't I'm definitely it's in my head. You know, like I was just sitting here like thinking like as we were talking, you know, like going back, and I'm just like, man, I'm like, you know, throwing out like a number, and I'm like, man, everything's becoming like more like 9, 10. Like I used to be able to like, you know, almost hit like 55, 60 on a lot of stuff, you know, and like lately, I'm like, man, I'm like the first 2 weeks are just like fucking nothing, like it's mood almost, and then the plant just gets rolling, but it's like it seems like there's like a 2 week, like you know, almost like a little lull, like you know, they're moving forward, but just not how they should, bro. It's just some, you know. Like I don't know, maybe it's just because the genetics are bottlenecking now, and you're seeing more of a you know, like for lack of a better term, like a you know, like a you know, for you know, a genetic more genetic misfitting. You know what I mean? Like more like you know, like sick plants. You know what I mean? Like in a way, like you know, like it
Well,
just seems like something's just off. Like I'm just you know, I'm noticing it more and more where plants just that shouldn't be. You know, when I ran 5, 8, 9 years ago, you know, gelatos that were done, you know, nice, like 55 days, you know, and I'm not seeing that no more, you know?
yeah. So interesting. One thing you said there got me triggered on something in terms of the stall. So I will say this: if you go back to your days, and I go back to my underground days, and we all went, you know, HPS or metal halide or compact fluorescent CFL, and then at HPS. What I didn't know at the time, because I wasn't as knowledgeable about lighting, is if you're going from one spectrum to another. This is good for everybody listening. If you're going from one spectrum to another, this again is more advanced lighting stuff. There is plenty of research at a like good level, good university government research showing that after you switch spectrum, you do need the plant to adjust. So if you're going to go, if I knew this back when I was running underground, I would have waited longer. If you move, let's say, metal halide to HPS, I'd be like, give them 3 days under HPS to settle into the spectrum, then flip them. Don't move them
Yeah,
under HPS and flip them. Where people see the best reaction with us is using our lights in veg and flower, and then you don't get any stall period. Because to your point, Dave, that can cause a stall. Changing spectrum can cause a stall for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
This
for
it's
sure.
just this it's something you know. I'm curious. I'm definitely curious to see because you know because like I said, I've 100% noticed you know the way stuff's been rolling. You know, so I'm curious because it's just another thing. It's like you know to tack on, you know, who if strains that were running, you know, like tits, you know, where you can bang them out, you know, in bloom 2 months. Now you're clipping into you know another period, dude. You know what I mean? Like you know, it's like weeks and of just to me dead time where I could have you know my shit done and be rolling already. You know what I mean? Like that to me is like a big deal, bro. You know, you only get so many harvests a year. You know, so to lose anything is it kills me. I hate it, bro. Like I like to certain numbers. You know, so um so let's see here. So here's a question. So what's the biggest aha moment a grower will have switching to a black dog LED?
Joe, you take that. You talk that. You start with that one. I'll think. God.
But I mean, honestly, I would just say the penetration. You know, you're going to get a lot more penetration, much deeper into the canopy. Not near as much larf. That's probably the biggest thing that I
Yeah,
would
the
say for
Mark
sure.
factor is fucking. That's you know, like I said, there's nothing worse than than losing the bottoms. You know what I mean? Like it's bullshit growth. Like I hate it, bro. I absolutely hate it. You know, I'm, but I like to have I like to grow a lot, like more. I'd rather not fuck with it as much. Like I don't mind training them and stuff like that, but every now and then I just like to grow, the regular old Christmas tree. You know what I mean? And I want those nice fucking lowers to be coming up. Some nice dominants coming from the bottom too, bro. You know what I mean? Like I want a nice, that nice candelabra coming down. Nothing worse than when you see people do that and there's only like 3 or 4 nodes on the fucking plant. Oh my god, it makes my heart weep. Just makes my heart hurt. It's like, man, it's like if you have to do that, common sense should tell you, like, if you're hacking your plant that deep, it's either you just don't know what you're doing and you're crazy, or you got a shit light, because there's no reason to hack a plant like that, bro. That's some deep disturbing stuff,
you have a 3 foot tall plant, but like 2 feet of the bottom is just all upskirted, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, really, you just have a foot, like, you might as well just do sea of green and just grow a bunch of smaller plants that are all about a foot tall,
And that's the thing, like with the commercial guys, bro. Like I see that shit commercially too. Like it's crazy. Like you see, there's a 6 foot tall plant and there's fucking 2 feet of plant material on it, and it's like, and then you see them with UCLs underneath them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like there's fucking 4 nodes on the plant. What is going on here? And it's crazy, bro. But I see pictures on like LinkedIn, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, man. I'm like, there's 6 feet of plant, 6 feet of stalk, 2 feet of plant, and under canopies. Like, man, something's got to be something's. What is that? Show me that guy, because I got something to sell him. A bridge,
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's crazy, bro. It's nuts.
I'll add to Joe's. I think you had the right reaction, Dave. Is that your big aha moment is when you take it out of the box, you feel the quality of the light, how it's built, and you plug it in. I'm not talking about over plants. Just plug it in and turn it on. Dave, damn near shit his pants. He's like, "What the hell is this thing?" Yeah, if you've been using bar lights and that Chinese junk, and then you turn ours on, you're like, whoa, this is a different game here. So that's your aha moment when you turn it on.
My fucking shin was burning. I'm like, I'm gonna catch a tan under this fucking thing. I swear to God, I could start charging for a tan in bed in there with that thing. That thing turns on. It's like, bah, whoosh, like the. Like, remember the Married with Children episode where I'll come home with the big German fucking air conditioner, the Kaiser?
Yeah, that 1,500 watt light's the equivalent. It's actually a little bit more than 2 of your 1,200 watt DEs. So 2,400 watt, 1,500 watts. You're getting that much out of them. That much.
What's the biggest footprint you've seen somebody pull out with that thing? Like, like as far as like I know I see like one of the things that blows my mind is how you can keep it off the canopy like you can. You know what I mean? So like, what's the biggest footprint you can actually flower out with that? Like good, like the 1,500, like the one I got. What would you think,
Joe? What do you think? You do light maps all day?
Yeah, I mean, probably doing around like a 6x6.
Solid.
Yeah.
Oh,
6x6 solid, good highlight levels. I'd expect to see a good 75 plus grams a square foot, in that kind of setup. So,
let's pull that up. I'm gonna pull up. So on our site, if you go to our site and you go to the product page, Phytomax 4, we have a calculator there, and you can put any light in that, and it'll tell you. And then you put your square footage for a single light. So let's throw it in on a 6x6 with a big light. You'd be running 886 ppfd average across all 36 square feet. And so that would be a bang and grow. It's not super highlight, but you would crush nice dense bud over 30. And people don't realize how big 6x6 is 36 square feet. I will be honest, you could flower up to about 6.5 by 6.5 before it starts to really fall down on you. But when we deploy commercially highlight, we will put that over a full 5x5 for full commercial, just crazy light, 25 square feet under that, and it just blows it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at 60 grams, like just if you went linear, do 60 grams a square foot, on that 6x6. I mean, you're just under 5 pounds over that 6x6.
Yeah, that's fucking good numbers for a fucking 6x6 area, bro. You know what I mean?
For one light,
Yeah,
right?
for one
Here's why we think
light.
it's funny when people say how much you get off that light. I'm like, that's such a silly way to put it because I've got a 125 watt light and I've got a 1500 watt light. I'll pull a lot more weight off the 1500. So
Yeah,
we don't like that the weight per light. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. So somebody asked about voltage. Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah. Do you see the question still?
Yeah, I saw one that was somebody had a question about do we support
240 volt?
240? Yeah. So that one I throw out there real quick for people that know we cover everything down to 100 volts, which doesn't matter in America, but if you're in Japan, you do care. So our lights go down to 100 volts. Everything up, we cover up to 277. We can handle three phase. So if you have 480, split it down to 277. And if you're our cousins to the north in Canada, you have weird 347 voltage, which we also support 347 for Canada. So we support pretty much every. I know it's weird. Unless you're in Canada commercial, you don't know that. It's a weird voltage. There's only 2 countries in the world that have that equipment. So we support every voltage you can find. You just got to order the right light. If you're in Canada, you got to order those specially. But we do anything from 100 to 277, and then Canada's special order 347 volts. So we cover it all.
So here's a question: If a girl only had budget for one upgrade, better lights or better environmental control, what would you recommend first, and why?
Well, that's tough because I'd say, what's your current light? What's your current environment? Because I will debate. If you have a terrible environment, I'd fix my environment first because I can grow decent flower with what we call a basic white bar light. That's what we call basic white. It's kind of like basic pitch, right? Basic white. So you got basic white. You can grow with that. But if you have a crappy environment, I don't care what light you put on it. You're not going to be happy. You're going to get larvae, flower. That's affected by environment, all those things. So as much as I'd like to sell lights, if you have a real crappy environment and a pretty crappy white LED, I'd fix the environment first just because you'll never get a better grow. So here's the way to put it. You can buy our light, but if you still have a terrible environment, we can only do so much. You need a good environment, good grower, good genetics. So I would say fix my environment first. If I have a bad, it all depends on how bad my environments are lights in. It's a tough for without me knowing the situation. But if I had equally bad, I might fix my environment first. But if my environment's okay, I would fix the light. But if my environment's crappy, it doesn't matter what kind of light. It's like I say, if you got crappy genetics, my light's not going to fix that for you. You're still going to have crappy genetics. I'll grow good crappy genetics, but it's still going to be crappy genetics. So if you have a bad environment, our light can't fix that. So I don't know if I answered it, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, environment for sure.
It's definitely, I would say, it makes sense because if you don't understand your environment, you're going to understand what the light does to the environment. You know what I mean? Like, and the other thing is if you go out and get a fucking crazy light and you don't know that the light is battering you know what I mean? So it's like a both. It's kind of like, a dance either way. It's like you can do too much of one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could actually hurt you more than anything because you're going to be demanding more from that plant in a crappy environment. So yeah, I would say environment.
Like people.
That's what I was going to say. Joe's right. You will actually make your light worse because you get a good light in there. We get guys to our lights and suddenly their DU doesn't keep up. Why? Because your plants are exploding, transpiring more, and just growing like crazy. Well, now I just made you have to get a new DU. You should be happy because your plant's growing better. But I agree with Joe. You could make your environment worse with a new light.
So here's a question for you. So do you guys believe in like gradual ramping of light intensity? Like sunrise, sunset, or instant on off?
That's a good one. Yeah.
I was gonna throw that one at you, bro.
You're not going to like the answer here. Some people on the call might not. I'm not the scientist. Joe and we love lighting and we're lighting experts. I'll say that all day. Not a master grower. I'm a lighting expert. But our scientist, Kevin, if I had him on the call, he would explain it to you this way. They're either on or they're off. There's no half on, half off. You're not half pregnant, okay? Your photons, you're either photosynthesizing or you're not. Now, there's no, and mark my words on this, there's no scientific research telling you should do sunrise and sunset. You want to do sunrise and sunset? God help you. Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But if you're commercial and you're making a living off of it, let me explain something to you. You get 12 hours a day to put lights on a plant. If I rent my light for half an hour each way, I lost a freaking hour of production. That's money. And then I'll get real serious talking about losing money because I like our customers to make it and make money. So at home, screw around with sunrise, sunset all you want. I'll tell you science, there's no research to back that up. And according to our biggest brain in our office that designed our spectrum, and he's been growing plants since he was 3 fucking years old. That guy knows plants better than I've watched plant scientists listen to him. Okay, he knows his stuff. He will tell you you're either photosynthesizing or you're not. The plant doesn't wake up and yawn. Now, am I telling you there's no reason to do that? No, because I haven't tested it. I will not say it's right or wrong because I'd have to scientifically test it with controls for me to say, yes, that works or doesn't work. But basically, the science says no, it's worthless. And now you want to talk dollars, commercial grow? If you're doing that in commercial grow, I think you're fucking idiot, sort of, because you're wasting money because you don't get to run. Yeah. You get 12 hours, man. That's it. You get 12 hours light and flower. You're gonna burn 1/12 of your money to do sunrise and sunset. Nah, dude, I'll take the money all day. And I got guys cropping out with no sunrise sunset that are kicking ass. So, is it better?
I think with home growers, a lot of home growers have way more power in their fucking tents than they should have. So I think for home growers, it makes a little sense because they don't understand lighting as much. You know what I mean? So in my mind, a lot of guys have way too much shit going on in their fucking tents. You know what I mean?
Also, like, David, if you don't crop out well as a home grower, you're not losing your business, dude. I don't want people going out of business.
Exactly.
Like I'm living and dying. I'm feeding my family with that money from my grow, man. I don't want you to lose money.
With my thing, I do a lot. Like I'll do, where I'll fuck around with my stuff. Like I'll set up my controller in my tent because I got a lot of power in there. I got more power than I need in that fucking thing. So I'll set it up where it'll scale up and then fucking, boogie through and then it'll, scale down at the end, for like maybe 10 minutes at the fucking very end because usually by the time the end comes, they're looking like they're ready to go to sleep anyway. You know what I mean? So. Because it's just it's a little overpowered, you know what I mean? That's why one of the reasons I'm coming out of the tents, you know what I mean? Because
that's not going to change,
Yeah, I'm not getting, I know that if I've seen the reaction of the plants when I just fucking drop the bomb on them right off the rip in the tent, it's just they don't like it, you know what I mean? So it's like that's the thing, with the home growers, it's like you just throw it in there, by the time the fucking plant, you might get 8 hours into the day if you just go 100%. If you got too much power in the tent, the fucking plant's like, I'm done. Like, you know what I mean? You can tell the plant's done. You know what a done plant looks like. You know what I mean? Like, when it's just like, I want to go to fucking bed, man. So that's why that's one of the reasons. Like, I'm coming out of the tents because I think that most lighting companies have no idea what the fuck their lights do. You know what I mean? Like, for real.
They don't grow. Most of them don't grow.
Bro, like, no lie, because every fucking light, it's, you should be able to throw, a couple of 500s in a 4x8 tent. You know what I mean? And boogie on them. You know what I mean? But you're seeing lights like lights, like, I've Chinese lights those fucking lights, bro, there's, the PPFDs were never the same fucking day to day. Some of the times it would change. I swear to God, that's how fucking ridiculous those lights were. But it would have, you would have, like, let's say, a 720 watt light that they're recommending you put, 18 inches above in fucking veg, and the thing's screaming like 80,000, when it's that close to the thing, it's fucking through the roof. The par readings are going nuts. Everything is out of control on it, and you have to have it 4 or 5 feet above the fucking plant. It's nuts, but you got 2 of them in the tent like this, you're supposed to have, but you can't use them. You know what I mean? Like you throw them on 100%, the plants just go to hell. But that's the problem, is that a lot of these light companies, you're not getting what you're supposed to get. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're saying it's 400 and it's like really putting out something like almost like 1,000 would, you know what I mean? Just fucking really harmful for the plant,
Yeah, it's like what they do is they'll take the total wattage for each LED. So they got 3-watt LEDs in there. They'll take that total and say that's what it's capable of, but that's not how much it's actually pushing out. Just like you said.
Yeah,
I like what Robert Carroll wrote in there, marketing science. Like, yeah, I like that term, marketing science.
Yeah, it is marketing science. So, but well, let me see. Let me get a couple more questions.
What about?
I know we're getting long.
what about spectrum change, Noah? Is the sun a different color in the spring as it is in the fall? Should we
Oh
be
yeah.
changing spectrum throughout? We're gonna do a spring spectrum and then roll it over to our fall spectrum.
You didn't know that?
I
You
love
didn't know you're supposed to do that?
I love how they do, like Joe's saying, you go out there and see all these companies selling a spring, summer, fall spectrum. If they had stayed awake in science class in high school, they might remember that in spring and fall, the sun's the same freaking angle from the earth, it's just on different sides. Your spectrum is the same. Here's the fun truth: the spectrum changes more every day from sunrise to sunset than it does spring to fall. Okay. So what are y'all going to do? You're going to start to change your spectrum all day long in your tent? No, there's no reason to have spring, summer, fall. That's horseshit now. Could you use spectrum to change morphology? Yeah, maybe, but you're also changing spectrum mid grow. And there's plenty of research that shows you're going to, like you were talking about, Dave, you're going to stall your plants and you're not going to be happy about that.
Do you think
So
there's?
we don't believe in changing spectrum.
Do you think there's like a more advanced spectrum than what's like what you guys are putting together, and and do you think there's more tuning to be done, or do you think it's where it is? What do you, or do you think it's
Good
just
question. That's a good question, and that goes back to something you talked about right at the beginning of this episode. Here is LEDs. We didn't necessarily get much better. We knew what we were doing 15 years ago. But what has happened in 15 years, why the lights have gotten a lot better, is we've learned a lot, and the technology of LED is really growing. It's not old tech. It's not like Joe talking about incandescent bulbs from the 20s or 30s, right? So we've got now what we've got is LEDs that are getting more efficient. So to answer your question, we have almost every color to pick from that we could want out of all the colors to build the spectrum we think is perfect. Now, it doesn't mean we can't tweak it, but what we want, if you're like, what do you want to do with the spectrum? I just want to make it more efficient. Why? Because then power is cheaper, they'll last longer, they won't get as hot, put as much heat into your grow. That is going to happen naturally because LED manufacturers, which no grow light manufacturer is an LED manufacturer, there's one, but generally they're not. We buy LEDs from the top suppliers in the world. The LED companies, their job is to make LEDs that last longer and are more efficient. Okay. So that's what we want. We want LEDs that are more stable, meaning they don't degrade, because every light you turn on degrades. Just how slowly or how fast is the difference. And I want it to be more efficient. So I want it to last longer and I want it to cost less to operate. Our spectrum, we tweaked it for about 10 years. We've locked in about 4 or 5 years ago to a spectrum. Now we just kind of ride the wave as manufacturers develop new LEDs that's a little different color. We might grab it because it fits in better. But to answer your question, I'd say we would not ever have a giant change again in our spectrum. Would we tweak little things? Yeah. But what I really want is the LED companies, the guys who manufacture the actual LEDs we buy, to make them last longer and be more efficient. That's where we're going to see LEDs get better and better. And mark my words, you were talking about it, guys saying, oh, this. Now there's guys used to laugh at us for UV. Guess what? All the major manufacturers are trying to say, we have UV now, we have UV. I'm like, dude, we've been putting that in for 15 years. There's research showing 2 reds matter. They're like, oh, we're putting in 2 reds. I'm like, we've had 3 reds for 10, 15 years. Everyone, mark my words, within 10 years, all the LED grow lights will look like ours. And you can record this, put it in a time capsule. We'll jump back on in 10 years, and I'll be right, because they're all slowly moving back towards us.
Say, bro, it's when we first started talking, I'm like, it's funny how certain prehistoric country, prehistoric LED companies and other ones are all with their baffling people with bullshit AI, pseudoscience. Like they're running these fucking huge tests and research studies and stuff, and it's like it's just AI word vomit, and they're making it like they just came, like they reinvented the wheel. You know what I mean? Like with these lights, and it's hilarious because it's like, man, it's like they really do think that they're like innovating, and it's like, man, it's been being done for 15 years already, bro. It's like it's like you can stop with the bullshit. It drives me crazy. I've said it already. It makes me laugh because there's a couple companies that those just such horseshit. You can tell that this is not something that some company did a research study on, bro. It's just an AI word. It's and people eat it up like it's and it's like it's just marketing science, like Bob said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
full
it's exactly
spectrum.
what it is.
They'll say they have UV, and it's like, okay, again, an incandescent light bulb bleeds off a very small percent of UV, and I could claim that, yeah, I've got UV. It's the percentage. And it's like Noah said, we put out the exact same, percent of UVA that you get if you go outside.
But
It's stuff like that. It's actual
let,
science behind it.
let's throw this in there. What's the the longevity of your lights on average, and what's the longest you've seen somebody run one with, and like I'm talking like not even just running it, but like where the PP, the par or whatever you want, PPFD, whatever you want to call it, fucking really starts to take a change. Like what's the deepest you've seen somebody running them where it's like still showing those really good numbers?
I'll give you two examples. So one, first off, we do have a 5-year warranty, but guess what? Every grow light company does, because you can't qualify for rebates without a 5-year warranty. We had a 5-year warranty long before rebates existed. Our lights will last much longer than 5 years. Your extreme example is our chief science officer. He's a plant geek, obviously. He grows tropical plants in his basement, and he grows weird stuff, miracle fruit, mangosteens, all kinds of weird tropical fruit. Basically, his rule is he won't, if he can buy it in the grocery store, he won't grow it. If he can't get it in the grocery store, then he might grow it. So he grows weird stuff. His grow room, he also likes things like nepenthes, which is the pitcher plants that eat bugs. Really weird stuff. So for his grow room to work, he has an ultra tropical environment, which means his plants shouldn't go below 90% humidity.
It has to be like equatorial, right?
His garden never gets below 80%. His plants will get really pissed off, some of them. So his grow room rains inside of it every night because the lights turn off, the humidity condenses, and it rains in his grow room every night. So our lights are getting hit with rain. He's got some lights in there that are finally crapping out now. They've been in there for 12 years, coated with water, hit with water for 12 years. And yeah, they're crapping out, but they're 12 years old and been running all day, like 12 plus hours a day for 12 years in a crappy 90% humidity environment. There's none of us growing cannabis at 90% humidity. So that's your extreme example. I can tell you this, if you ran our lights 12-12 in a good commercial cannabis or cannabis environment, you'd still be getting good yields in 10 years. I'd be willing to bank on that because I know how we build our lights. And it comes down to this, Dave, one thing. It's one thing, the cooling system. LEDs will degrade based on heat is your enemy. The hotter they are, the faster they're going to run out of energy or degrade to low light. So all these cheap art lights that have no cooling system, they're going to degrade like crazy, and the growers don't know that.
Yeah.
Our lights are running very cool for the LEDs. Lights, that's what matters. So the fans, the fans. The fans, people bash our fans, but we're like, if you understood what you're buying from us, you're making an investment in your LEDs. We want those to last, and the best way to do it is keep your LEDs very cool, so they'll last a long time.
I said something that I posted about the light the other day, right? And somebody made a comment. They're like, who the fuck would run a lights with who the fuck would run lights with fans on them? That's a fucking joke. And I was like, probably the same asshole that's running a $200 Chinese light, you know what I mean? Like something I sent back to him, and the guy carried on and on and on about how ridiculous it was, and and I was like, you don't even understand. I'm not even going to get into it with you. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't even understand it, bro. Like,
go ahead, buddy. Yeah.
Here's two things. Let's go to your question. Two things. One, in the history of the company, we've never had a light fail because of the fans since we went to the newer fans. Our fans don't break. We had one guy send one in. We're like, oh, we finally had a failure. We had a fan go out. We want to see what happened. We never had one. Guess what? It came in and there was a freaking stick in it. We took out the stick and the fan started spinning. He had a stick in his fan. Okay, so we've never had a failure. So one, people think fans break. I'm like, my fans will outlast your LEDs. I'll put that in writing. That's number one. Number two, people that say that don't understand that a light isn't put together. It's engineered. We have to maintain certain temperatures, what's called junction temperature. Where that LED is, where the light's being made, if that temperature is too high, you're going to lose your investment. So your buddy, it's like, why would you put a fan? I'd be like, because I want my investment to last. So if you don't understand engineering, you're right. You might not use a fan. We do understand engineering, and we make our lights to last.
Bro, it had me just shaking my head, man. I was like, dude, I'm like, you know, like you don't even understand, bro. Like, you know, and then when like I said, I went and looked, and he's just got these cheap shit Chinese fans up, you know, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead with your, you know, state of the art aluminum heat sink, you know. Like,
Yeah, how much heat do
yeah,
you think that's pulling away? They're like
yeah,
10%. That's
you know
why they
what I
don't
mean?
have actual UVA LEDs in those fixtures either, because
It's fucking because it
those
would
are
melt the aluminum.
yeah, they run really hot, you know. So
Yeah,
you really got to be able to cool them off, and another reason why they have them separate from their lights, right?
it's
Like you're
crazy,
still
bro.
talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
It's absolute insanity, bro. People, you know, I don't know, you know, but I look at it like this, you know, you get what you pay for, you know, and you see people who go out and they run around and they buy, you know, expensive jeans and shirts and all this shit, and it's like, for what? You know what I mean? Like, you know, you get what you, but I understand, you get what you pay for. It's nicely made, blah blah blah. But with stuff like this, it really matters. You know what I mean? Like, because one, you're creating medicine. Two, you know, you want to do it efficiently. You know, you want to have the best version of it, you know, that you can get. And like I said, at the end of the day, you got to consume it. You know what I mean? And everything like that. So to me, to bring it to have the best possible potential for it to be the best for me, I want the best equipment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, and it
well,
doesn't make sense not to.
we've got the
You know,
largest heat sinks in the industry, and those lights too. I'm sure you could tell when you picked up that 1,500-watt light. It's pretty
yeah,
solid, right?
probably
Um,
it fucking kill somebody with that thing, dude. You know, literally,
yeah.
it's like tossing a microwave at somebody. Yeah.
I was doing an install in Mississippi up
I
on a
love that.
ladder,
The thing is
hanging those
beast.
things up, and one of them fell off the ladder onto the floor, man. Just like I was like, oh my god, man, brand new light, 10 feet down. Went and told the owner what happened, you know, and he was just like, I don't care if it has cosmetic damage as long as it works. I went, plugged it in, good to go, man. After dropping from 10 feet down, so it
Bro,
actually kind of ended up being. He was like, holy shit, these really are tanks, you know, like
yeah, bro, that thing will kill somebody, bro. That thing,
yeah,
no bullshit. That thing falls fucking 10 feet and hits somebody in the head.
yeah,
They're not gonna make it. You know,
yeah,
no way, bro. You literally have to have a neck like a fucking rhinoceros to take one of those things to the head. You know,
yeah.
that's a solid light, bro. I'll tell you that much. I can't wait. That thing's gonna be humming tomorrow. I'm cannot wait, bro. I'm like a kid. I might even do it tonight, but I gotta go to work, so probably not. But tomorrow when I get home, I'm going right for it, dude. I
Yeah,
cannot
I'm
wait.
just as excited. It's always a lot of fun getting to see somebody that's an OG grower that's been growing a long time, really knows
It's
their
been
shit.
so long since I
When
did
they
that
get a
hydro
chance
shit, bro.
to,
I'm so nervous.
yeah, when you get a chance to see the what this spectrum does, yeah, it's
Yeah, it's gonna
fascinating.
be. I can't wait, bro. You know, like I said, you know, my buddy who what do you call it, who grabbed the one of the hydro systems, he's he's like, bro, he's like, get that thing fired up so you can tell me, you know, because he wants to grab a couple too, you know. So I got to get this thing fired up so I can start giving some data to people, you know, because
Yeah.
a bunch of people are like, you know, they wanted to buy lights and they're like, man, I want to see how these things work first. So I'm like, I'm getting
What,
pressure.
what, hey, what genetics? What are you throwing in the system? Tell us about your genetics. What are you running?
I'm actually going to rerun the stuff that I just did, the Pimp Junkie, which is Godfather OG, and Cap Junkie, and then the other one is the Root Beer Pebbles F2, the cereal berries, which is what is that? I think it's like Oreo, Devil Driver, and Moonbow or something like that. It's thing's insane, bro. I just posted a picture of it on LinkedIn today. It's like it's at 30 days, and the thing is just glowing with, you know, just coated with
Nice.
charcoals. Man, it's so nice, bro. The leaf structure on it's beautiful. It's not a monster. It's not, well, I can't say how it's going to run a little long. It's probably going to be about a 10-week run on it. You know, it got going a little late. You know, it was one of those, but it just went. You know, like it just stacked up tall. Has a nice, you know, decent lower, like, you know, nodal spacing. But when you get to the top, it's just like, you know, it's just tight. And I mean, it stinks. It's like how would I smell? What do I smell when I say it's giving off? It's like it's kind of like a caramelly, like musky, the only way to describe it is like a little muskiness to it, like a caramel. It's almost like a little birch beery kind of like that. It's very strange, but it's definitely, bro. It's just oozing. Like when you bump into it, you're just like your whole arm's coated with fucking snot.
Nice.
It's nice, and the Pimp Junkie is it's got nice structure. I had a little, I instead of using the bags for the octopots, I started using air pots with them, and it doesn't allow the wick to hit the bottom. So I started getting. I didn't even realize it till I noticed it, but I was getting a little stacking, I guess, nutrient stacking. So I was driving the ppm up without noticing it, without even realizing it, because a little bit was being left. And I started noticing the plant. I was like, man, I'm like, what the fuck? And just looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't even I'm not comprehending what's going on. It was just odd, like the way it was, the die off, like there was a quick die off of like the fan leaves, and but it was only the fan leaves, and I'm like, what the fuck? But they went from like perfect to like crap, like real quick, like 2 days. But it was only the fan leaves, so I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So I started looking at one of them as it like developed quicker. And it just looked like a toxicity of everything, like it was just really strange. Fucking, you looked like, pretty much all different stuff stacked together. Like it was one of those that you literally saw, like deficiency of this, toxicity of this. You saw everything develop at like the same fucking time. It was insane. So I had empty octopots. I changed them out. I actually flushed them a little bit, changed them out, filled them up with fresh water, without anything in them. Just let them, whatever was in there kind of just push into the plants. The buds kept growing nicely, still having a little die off and whatnot. So I changed it back out again, the next day, put just plain water in it, and I drove it back, I stopped it. So it was definitely the nutrient stacking, 100%, because every one of them would have, something left at the bottom. So I was driving my ppm up without noticing, and I'm aggressive with those too, because they'll take it. But I was not noticing with the aggression I normally put into it, that leaving that was fucking causing me an issue, like an idiot, So I corrected it, caught some damage, you know what I mean? Like it was really fast, bro. That's how fucking high the ppm I got, bro. The ppm was like from the fucking slurry. The ppm was like fucking like 4,000, fucking 5,000, So it was high, bro, and it was just being an idiot, you know what I mean? And not realizing that the fucking thing, the wick, wasn't touching the bottom, but like this, maybe half an inch, 3/4 an inch, if that, around there. And it was enough to cause an escalation, you know what I mean? But I think I caught it. I just fed in water. I know it's always, never feed plain water, but they had so much in there. There's only so much pushing you can try to do. Like, like Flushing to me is like, it's a city in fucking Queens. Like, is it really going to do something? But I wasn't giving them more to fucking to do it. So I think they rode the lightning. I got leveled off and I'm good. But I'll tell you, man, even though it was like a negative stress, the fucking things just kept moving through it, bro. Like they pushed through it. Like they took it and pushed through this shit. Like they didn't stop growing. Like, so like the skunk that happened to, bro. Yeah, that thing fucking now. Oh man, the fucking stink coming out that motherfucker now, bro, is something special. Like the stress events, like it was like perfect timing for like a big stress event for these plants. Like it was one of those things. But it was, if I didn't catch it, I would have been screwed, But I've got it under control. Now I just got to kind of ride the lightning a little bit, and then catch the back end on the, on the trough, when it really troughs off, then, we'll go back into it, which I think maybe another cycle of, just something low with a little humics to kind of push it up and out, let the plant use it if it can, and whatnot. But,
well, that's good. It's good that you're running it's good that you're running the same stuff that you in this system, because now you're going to have a perfect comparison since you're just finishing up the same stuff. I feel
Yeah.
like, and I don't want to, not to invite ourselves back, but
No.
it might be cool to come back in 10 weeks, and have another
Yeah.
chat and talk about what you saw, what your experience was, all that
Yeah,
kind
I
of stuff.
can. Well, you know what? I can. What do you call it? I'd actually love that because I can. I normally have the AI cameras up. Normally, like if you, the resolution you can see is terrible now. If you look at some of the other ones I've been the last couple of weeks, I finally got my AI cameras going. But I I have I moved a bunch of crap today and buried them. And by the time I realized that it was too late, so I didn't get to get them out. But next time you guys come on, I'll be able to just take the camera and take off because it's all Wi-Fi and and it's nice. So I'll be able to take off with them. So if I didn't have everything hardwired right now, I'd drag it in there to show what it looks like. But we saw it. So, but I would definitely like to if what would that be? That would be like
Got to wait till it's
like
dried and finished and trimmed so you can give the whole skinny. You got to tell the truth. Tell
yeah,
everybody what
that'd
you
be like
think, good or bad.
probably
I want to hear it.
probably like December. I would have to think. Probably. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. So September hasn't started, right? So if I get this going this week, I figure that's 1, 2, 3, September, October, November. Yeah, about December. Yeah, about
Just,
December.
I was going to say right around Thanksgiving, we'll be ready for you.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I'd love to have you guys back on for that. And
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you guys much longer. I know that everybody's got stuff to do, but
Let me throw it also, Dave. We might have to
yeah.
swing out there. That funk one sounded like something I need to get my hands on. So I might have to come out and sample it just to make sure you did a good job.
That's
'Cause I got to
79
try some of that.
That shit, yeah, I'll tell you, man. That is gonna
Science
be
for science. No, that's for science.
Yeah, it's all for science. All in the name of science.
Yeah,
I've been craving. We've been talking about it around the office. I've been craving some old school skunk for the last couple of months, and I'm like, where do you find like old school, like teenage skunk
Katsu.
I was smoking 30 years ago? What?
Bro, order Katsu. Go to Katsu's website. I'll send you the link. They have a 79 heirloom and a 7981 cross heirloom that are out of this world, bro. You're gonna hit probably if you grab it I think he has they're either 6 or 10 packs, but I swear to shit, in a 6-pack you'll probably find 2 or 3 different phenos of just banging, stank, disgusting skunks. Like he's got some good ones, bro. Those and this is my buddy hunted this one out. It's it at first you get you get that sweetness, you kind of get that little piney thing going in the beginning, and then at around week 7, she starts to get a fucking angry turn on her, and by week 8, 9. It is just the most obnoxiously disgusting skunk you've ever smelled in your life, bro. Like fucking puke skunk. He actually had his neighbors called the fucking cops about something dead on his property when he grew it outdoors, and the fucking law came. So, all right. So
Nice.
that's how nasty this fucking thing is. So but since that stress event, it started to turn a little early, the funk. So this it might even be, who knows how disgusting I can get it, But it's definitely going to be one of those skunks, bro, 100%. It's everything.
Yeah.
And it's bro. And the crazy thing is, she's got some nice, she's got nice stems on her, and it's 30 days in, and she's bellowing stems on the buds are probably around, about this wide right now. Nice heads on them, like this, but they're just fucking dense. Even the lowers. Coming down your second, second, thirds and stuff, they're fat and they go down deep fat. They're going down 9, 10 fucking, 9, 10 road levels down, and they're all nice fat eggs, and all the stems are just already and I'm like, man, these aren't small stems neither, but the fucking weight on the ends of these things are just crazy, bro. So I'm gonna have to tie them up. I know I'm gonna, because I wasn't seeing it coming, bro. She got lanky. You know how some skunks will just kind of, through the rough? She did that shit. I flipped her. She was only I would say, she was 30 inches when I flipped her. She's fucking tall as 7 feet now, I actually had to take the lights and zip tie them to the fucking top of the tent, to the top poles. Not even on ratchet straps or nothing. They're straight zip tied to the fucking rafters. And the buds are literally to like this, and it just they're getting big, dude. It's gonna be some nice skunk, bro. I'm stoked. Yeah, I'm really happy about it. Everything in there, bro. Everything in there right now is doing good, dude. I got that Pimp Junkie, the Cap Junkie, and Godfather OG, and that thing even the buds on that are like nice, for 30 days, bro. Like the fucking things are looking good, bro. And then I got the big head, on it. The head on us, got to be like fucking 18 inches, and at 30 days, so she's gonna look good later, So I'm happy, So I'm gonna rerun all that shit under that thing, So I'm like, man, the only one I don't have is the 79 skunk. I didn't take cuts, bro. I was pissed, man. Fucking, I took a couple cuts, but they failed. She don't like getting. She's bitchy about taking a cut. I don't know why. Normally I can make anything cut, but that one, she perplexed me, man. I couldn't get the roots out of her. So it is what it is. But
yeah,
I can get her again. My buddy's still got the mother. So if what do you call it? If you know who has it? James, my buddy who bought the system. So maybe I can get him to send an R&D sample in of a cutting R&D sample.
I'll come out there to check that out, man. I'd love to. Bro, I'd love to see something like that. I haven't. Yeah, the old school. I like the old school.
I'm telling you, bro. Jump on that site and grab some for your R&D. It's so worth. It's worth it, bro. It's worth it. Let me put it that way. Like, it's probably going to be like a couple of the best packs of seeds you ever bought. Like, you're going to be that happy. Like, it's going to just bring you right back. So it's 100%. So, well, I don't want to keep you guys any longer. It's been a long conversation and whatnot, but I just wanted to, is there anything that we didn't cover that you guys wanted to throw out there or anything? I think we covered it all.
I'd say it's like your show. You want to talk lights? Don't even buy some. Just call us. We everybody that answers the phone. We all love growing. We're all passionate about this. Like Dave is here. We love talking. So you're like, hey, it's been a long show. I'm like, dude, it feels like 10 minutes. I'll talk growing for 6 hours and not even bat an eye. So I'm bad like that. I can talk. There's so much. There's talking about temperature differences, humidity, lights. I mean, nutrients are that's a whole nother world. So I love it. Call us. All I'd say is call us to talk growing anytime you want.
We gotta save something for the next time too.
Well, next time you're going to tell us if we're telling the truth. You tell people they were lying through their teeth. Listen,
I'm gonna. Everybody knows. Anybody who watches knows how I am too, because I have no problem with if shit's not what it's supposed to be. Like It's like I do a disservice to myself by bullshitting people. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, I look at it like that. Like, if you're gonna lie about something, like, don't, why would you lie? Like, so to me, I don't think there's anything that you guys have said that I'm not gonna see. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm stoked, bro. I can't wait, man. I'm dying to get those fucking things under there, bro. They're like, they're revenge.
Big difference, there's a big difference between just trying to sell products, turn a profit, and actually being growers ourselves. And our products designed and built. Our lights are designed and built right here in the U.S. Every single component within our fixture you could go through. When you have the option of cheap, mid-grade, high-end, everything's high-end all the way through. So yes, we feel like we definitely have the best light on the planet. But the other big part though is when you join the pack, right? You get our light, you also get us, and we're always happy to answer questions. I mean, on the commercial side, we do a lot of weekly calls with a lot of our customers, walking through all kinds of different issues, things going on. We do a whole lot more than just provide the best light on the planet. But yeah, that's where it starts with us for sure.
Yeah, like I've said too, like, one of the things that we've talked about in conversations is a lot of companies, and I say it's almost every time to guys who come on, is the other companies don't know how to humanize themselves. They use other means to push crap. You know what I mean? The companies that humanize themselves come on, show face and stuff like that. To me, I think that there's a reason that a lot of companies don't come on. You know what I mean? Like, because there's stuff to hide. You know what I mean? So, like, to me, to put a face to any product and put, the guys that are building it and stuff like that is huge, because you're never going to get, AC and fuck Infinity or, You know, you'll need to hire a translator. You know what I mean? To fucking do your webcasts first of all. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they can't even tell you about growing. Like that's the thing. Like you're buying shit from companies that know nothing about growing. You know, that's crazy to me. That's ludicrous. Like, you know, they don't even know.
No.
Like you can't call them and be like, hey, listen, you know, the lights, blah 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 blah. They'll be like, you know, it's just literally stuck. You know, they won't know what to tell you. They just be like, warranty over. You know, that's it. You know, warranty over. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all they'll tell you. Warranty over.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a disaster.
Look, you're passionate about this, so are we. Anybody probably here listening is passionate about cannabis. I was doing the math the other day. I've been smoking cannabis for 40 years. That's a long damn time. I have no regrets, and I love this industry, and I'm so glad I'm a part of it. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. We need more people like you in this industry, and I wish LED lights didn't have the bad name they have. We hope people come around on that. That not every LED grow light company is lying through their teeth, but tell you what, we love it, and the alien system. I'll be honest, Joe and I were like, we can't wait to see. We grow with the lights, we grow with our systems, but what we love, like he said, is seeing someone like you that's never had our light, never grown with that spectrum, and then throw that into you and see what you do with it. That's what we really get jazzed about. Is a guy that's been growing it. Like, dude, I've been growing the same genetic 10 years. I put your light over it. It's like a different plant. We're like, that's what we love here. That's
why I want to see with these fucking things because, like, I'm like, you know, like I know how to get, you know, I can get a good plant, you know, out of any fucking light. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and that's how, you know, but you know, these genetics, like I'm looking at a lot of the stuff I've grown in the last like year. I've been picky about what I've been growing lately. You know, I used to grow a lot, you know, to promote people and stuff and just, you know, get them out there, guys that I really like that doing good things, you know. So, but lately I've been growing a lot more shit that I like to grow. You know what I mean? And like I'm pushing good results with lights that I know they're all right, you know what I mean? But like I gotta fuck around to get the result, you know what I mean? Like but I like doing it. You know, it's fun. I like going in there and fucking around and you know setting it up, doing this and that. But I know, like, just from you know having a fucking brain in my shoulders, you know, and reading, you know, everything that's gone into this the spectrum and you know and the you know morphology and this and that. It's fucking tuned, like you know what I mean. Like so, it's like having a hot rod, you know, against the fucking Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's literally like that's the only way to put it, dude. Like, so I can't not think that what the result that I'm getting from these genetics now, which I'm really fucking happy about, like they're really doing good. I can't wait to see what the fuck happens under these. You know what I mean? Because
get ready to feed them.
Yeah, bro. Like, oh, bro, please, feed them my fucking numb plump. You kidding me? That's like my middle name, dude. Like I'm Mr. Feed these motherfuckers. Like with those octopod things, bro. I'm so aggressive with those things. You know, normally when I didn't make a mistake with the fucking wick thing, you know, but normally I'm like surgical with those things. So like I can push those things. Like I'll feed them every fucking time. Like I don't even take a break. Like I got it down with those things where every time I'm watering those fucking things, they're getting fed. You know, and they're not just getting fed, they're getting fed, you know? And like I got it down with those things, where I could crank out plants with that. So it might take me, you know, like a run to get my feet wet, you know,
sure.
with this shit. But I guarantee you, fucking, once I get my feet wet with this thing, bro, fucking, I'm going to be fucking surgical with this motherfucker.
You'll knock it out. You'll knock it out of the park, to be honest. On your first grow. Here's the thing. Here's a trick on this. We got. Here's your trip. We got Jay's growing right now, and he's got some real stretchy ladies. He's not even in. He doesn't have the spacing you have. His plants have to be smaller. He's got 3 plants in a 2x4, and his plants now they're late flower, granted, but under that light where they're just getting hammered and just cooking, they're drinking well over a gallon a day, and that's not going to waste. It's measurable. They're drinking more than a gallon a day per plant.
Per plant, yeah. So
do you know how much water that is pushing through?
Yeah,
so much.
That's a fuck ton of water, you know.
Dude.
Thank God, I just fucking, you know what? I just had my buddy get me a fucking 55-gallon fucking res too. You know, I was sitting there, bro, and I'm like, you know, I was like, at the beginning, I'll get away with this fucking res, you know, like because you know and whatnot. But I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm gonna have to be fucking filling that goddamn thing so much probably. Like, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I need to get the 55 gallon. But now I got to figure out how to what do you call it to do it. I gotta hope there's enough hose to do it with the chiller and the what do you call it when I do it. But if not, I'll just fucking order some more hose.
Yeah,
But
the chiller you want to hook up with pipe generally. Like we recommend either PVC or PEX, and I know you know how to use that stuff. So we recommend for
oh
the
yeah, I
chiller
can
loop
right there.
PVC or
Yeah, yeah.
PEX. Just do
Okay.
that with PVC or PEX to your tank as a water loop, and then you have all the pipe from us to run your system. So we
Okay. Yeah,
recommend
yeah, yeah.
for chiller, I'd recommend PVC or PEX, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I can get it. I actually probably have packs downstairs too, or
I bet you do.
well, I bet. Yeah, I probably have. I'm trying. I just have to look what fucking size. What size it is. What size is it on your size? On your side.
On our side, I want to say it's half inch, but I'd have to double check because I'd have to think about what you have. Oh no! There's nothing on our side. You're gonna drop because you're. I forget you're in the arrow. You're gonna just drop a submersible pump in your tank and run water through your chiller and back into the tank. So there's no ports. You're just hooking up to a pump and the chiller. And I can talk to you about it anytime you want offline, but it's just a water loop. So the easiest is drop a pump into your tank and that runs out to your chiller, and the line coming out of your chiller goes back to your tank. It's just a loop circulating,
Okay.
and you don't hook up to anything of ours in that case for what you're doing. If
All
you're in
right.
the V system or the RDWC, then you have to hook up because the water's there. Remember, our water's for the arrow just sitting in the tank. That's why it's so easy to manage.
Oh, all right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just fucking throw the pump in there. All right. That works.
That's it.
Just
Yeah,
go
you
right from
don't.
the pump.
It all it does is spray your roots and then come right back to the tank. So all you do is manage your water, your nutrients, your pH in the tank. Everything else is done by the system. That's it.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah. So just fucking run from the pump right to the fucking chiller, and then out.
Yep.
Good. Yeah,
Yep.
that works. I didn't even think about it because that's the next thing I have to fucking hook that up too. That's the only last part I got to do, and put the fucking plants in. So now I
Well,
know.
don't get frustrated and smoke next time. Call Joe and I. We'll help you out. That's why we're here. It's support. That's what we do. So
I was
when you get frustrated,
I wasn't because you know what? Because I didn't even fucking think. I was like, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, how in the fuck am I supposed to run this fucking thing up and above this big ass thing? But I don't have to. All right, yeah, that works. Works for me. So, but if for some strange reason my brain doesn't put this together tomorrow again, because I'll call you.
Hit us up.
It's like the last thing to do is hook the chiller up, bro. I totally forgot about that fucking chiller. Damn.
yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's getting
Always.
hooked up tomorrow too. That chiller's
Yeah.
nice, bro. Yo, that's a nice chiller, dude. Yo, you guys will like this thing. It's
I
nice.
want to see how it works for you because I've looked
I
at
can't
them.
wait
They're-
to. Yeah, I can't wait
Yeah.
to see how it runs, bro. Because it looks, it's not a piece of shit at all, bro. It seems like a nice, I'm very surprised, because I actually thought it was going to be like something like one of those things where you're like, it's overpriced, but not at all. I think it's actually pretty cool. It's actually a pretty quality piece, So I
Oh,
think you guys will like
nice.
it, So
Nice. Look
But-
forward to watching you use it.
yeah, I can't wait to fuck with that thing, dude. It's gonna be so nice to just not be able to have to worry about the temperature at all. It's literally just it's the worst thing that can happen is maybe environment pushes it up a degree or two, but I could just boop, boop, and it's right back to normal. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. So before we go, I just want to see who's next week real quick so I can let anybody who watches know. I think who the fuck is next week? Let's see who's next week. Who do we have next week? Oh, this is actually a cool one too. So next week, the 21st, Blizzy will be back too. My partner was had to. He's in EMT, and the union, the city didn't re-sign with the union with the union and some shit like that after 77 years of the same contract.
Oh, wow.
They're changing unions or some shit. So some big thing happened out there. So we had a big union meeting, but their medical is getting screwed somehow. From whatever part of California is in, which is I forgot. It's Altavita or some shit like that. I can't remember what it is, but they're doing something with the union and they didn't re-sign their contract or something like that. Some shit. So it's a big deal. So yeah. So that's why he's not here tonight. But so next week we have the owner, CEO of Optic Foliar, Danesh Dhaliwal. He'll be on with us. If you guys haven't, anybody out there hasn't seen Optic Foliar, it's probably one of the better foliar systems on the market. I've used it. I like it. It's one of the few that you can spray with the lights on. Makes it a lot. And actually, there's certain benefits to it. With the lights on, and there's definitely one. It does something. I think it works a lot better with the lights on. Compared to just misting in the dark. I don't know, because unless you're using the right stuff, misting in the dark, the plant, it starts sealing itself down. You know what I mean? So it's like, unless, I don't know, just certain things about spraying foliage in the dark I'm not too big on, but I guess when you start reading some of the research, it starts making sense, though, so. But he's going to be on, man. He's actually a really funny guy too, bro. I've met him at a trade show, and he's a really good dude, so I'm stoked to have him on. So that's next week, the 21st. Joe, Noah, thank you, man, for chilling out, bro. Thank you for everything. I know you guys are busy, so I appreciate you guys chilling out tonight, man. It means a lot. I'm stoked you guys put your confidence into me too, man. I can't wait to start ripping on this thing, bro. I'm like a little kid. I'm like a little kid right now with that thing, dude. I got everything all set, ready to roll, dude. All I got to do is just that last little part, man. So
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait, bro. So thank you again, guys. I definitely want to have you guys back in December too, when this thing gets rolling deeper into to the bloom, or afterwards, whichever one. I don't care. By then, hopefully, I'll be able to figure out how to play videos while we're on, and I can just play the fucking video on here of some of the stuff. So because I'm gonna actually hook up the camera in there too. I'm gonna throw one of the cameras up, so the whole thing will get pictures like I think it's once every 10 minutes it'll take a picture or something like that. So it'll video the whole thing too, but it'll do a time lapse too. So
Nice.
like once every 10 minutes it'll snap a picture of the fucking plants. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end. If it works right. I've tried to do it. I've gotten it right once. I screwed it up once. So this is the third try. So hopefully I don't screw up the time lapse thing this time. But no matter what, I take a lot of pictures anyway, so I'll get it up. So, but thank you guys for coming on, man, and I hope in December I've made you guys proud, because I can't wait to turn this fucking thing on, bro. I'm like, you have no idea. Those clones are screaming, fucking, we're re-vegging, get me in that water, So I can't wait, dude. So anytime you guys want to come back, other than then, you're always welcome, man. So, but thank you guys, and you guys, anybody out there can check out the lights and everything. BlackDogLED.com, the hydro kits at AlienHydro.com. Or you can get in touch with me. I can put you in touch with them. It's just that simple. But jump on there and check them out. Definitely, this is where the industries should have gone. 15 years ago. I don't know why it took this long for fucking people to start waking up, but I've been screaming it for years, bro. I've been so angry about just the same bullshit lights for so long. Oh, it drives me crazy. It's like, when you know it's there and it's like nobody's doing it, it's infuriating, So it don't make sense,
Yeah.
It really don't. And then for people to take credit on it even makes it even worse,
Yeah.
So, but all right, guys. Well, thank you for coming on, man, and we will talk to you soon. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks for having us on, Dave.
Oh, no problem, man. Thank you for coming, bro. All right, guys.